I feel like Golf Channel is too good to send these to. What's worse than Golf Channel in our entire network?
Well, it can't be our company. You can't denigrate our network.
Company.
Absolutely zero.
How about, you know what? I got an idea. You know what I'm going to do? I'm sending you to Orlando to do like a live show at Universal Studios Orlando. Just one of the live shows.
Dress up as a character?
Yeah, I'm gonna have you dress up as a character. Like you can be Mario and Luigi. That's what you guys are gonna do. That's where you're going. That's a worse gig than the Golf Channel. Maybe we'll put you on that. We have that bar game show on USA Network. Maybe we'll put you on that.
I used to bartend back in the day.
Perfect.
Good use of my
We got to figure.
set.
Do me a favor, you guys tweet us suggestions as to where other in the NBC Universal Cinematic Universe we can send George and Lawrence to, because that's what's happening next week.
Fantasy Football Pregame with Matthew Berry, served by Applebee's.
What's going on? Happy Sunday. You are watching Fantasy Football Pregame. Matthew Berry, Lawrence Jackson, Jay Croucher. You're wondering who in the world I am. I'm Britney Eurton, and where is George?
Yeah, George thought we were kidding.
Question.
George thought we were kidding. We weren't. He's at a golf event.
Not
Universal,
Las
Vegas. Like, it's a good golf event. Like, we didn't want to kill him.
Now I'm shaking in my boots because now I see that. Now you're right, because you just saw the show opening. Like you was trying to get me up out of here too, but I have withstood and I have lasted at least one more week, maybe
2 hours.
Right. So I got me another 2 hours. George unfortunately wasn't so lucky. So we have Britney here with us, who could you could potentially take that position like Tank Bigsby doing from Travis Etienne right now.
That's 1,000% right. Yeah, Brittany's going to Wally Pip him. This is a reference for us old people.
I understand the Wally Pip reference.
Yes, thank you.
I don't. Warming the seat right now for George, but actually George had a little word for each of you. Let's listen to this.
Let's hear this.
Well, you have really done it this time, Barry. After that heartbreaking head-to-head loss on Monday Night Football in the League of Assholes, a loss so soul-crushing, I had to shed my label as George the Greek and become what is now known as the 19th hole. You've also banished me from FF Pregame, sentencing me to 2 weeks hard labor covering the PGA Tour for our sister network, the Golf Channel. A punishment so cruel, despots wouldn't even conceive of it. So I have a message for not just you, but everyone on that desk. Aside from you, Brittany, you're not collateral damage here. I will get my revenge on the League of Assholes in this lifetime or the next. And I have something specifically for you, Jay. We have spared no expense, clearly, with our budget. Do you see this? I will stomp you this week. Don't you forget it.
Wow, that was good.
Well done. He's stomping grapes, of course. You are the grape slappers.
In theory, he should have slapped them, but that's okay.
You're up against each other this week, huh?
We are going up against each other. George Severikis, the 19th hole. Incredible production values out of Golf Channel and George. It's upsetting. George had to wear a headset. Doesn't really.
It was a weird looking headset, too.
Yeah, I don't really understand it.
It looked like 1970s TV.
Yeah. Throwback.
He's a sick man, George.
How are you feeling about that matchup?
Not amazing, actually.
Okay.
Yeah,
George has a surprisingly good team.
Yeah, it is quietly good. Like guys like Chris.
Is that
Godwin.
why you banished him?
Chris Godwin's like a superstar.
No,
now.
I banished him because he's annoying. But the good team, the fact that he has a good team helps.
Good team. Yeah, I didn't like Cooper Kupp being ruled out. I need Jordan Mason to really put me on his back, but. Yeah, no, I'm excited for the show, excited for this final destination type of operation to continue. George dead, Lawrence next. Who could it be after that? Maybe me.
We'll see.
Let's get into it. Week 7 storylines. Matthew, what do you got for us to kick things off?
I have two storylines. Quickly, two quick storylines. Number one is my daughter Brooke. I just want to give a shout out to my daughter Brooke. She is at a banquet right now. I am unfortunately on TV or streaming, basic cable, whatever we are. Unfortunately, I cannot be there. But she is at a banquet for the state of Connecticut. She won All-State in gymnastics in her 12 and under. You get invited to this All-State banquet with all the other kids that won and everything like that. So shout out to my daughter Brooke, All-State in gymnastics. The other storyline here, more importantly, is this. What do the Jets and Bills offenses look like this week? Obviously, the Jets make the big trade. They get Devontae Adams. The Bills go out and trade for Amari Cooper. And so what are those offenses, specifically those wide receivers, and they're getting into those offenses, but what do those offenses look like more? Are the Jets more pass-heavy? Or do the Bills who've been more run-heavy because they haven't had wide receivers emerge, do they go more balanced? how do those offenses look today with their new additions? To me, is my big storyline for today.
All right, Jay, what about you?
Okay, my storyline, Brittany, is Anthony Richardson. What does he
Mm-hmm.
look like in his return? Everyone's kind of excited about Anthony Richardson being back. Obviously, he's the 4th pick in the draft, has all this potential.
Is everyone excited?
Well, that's the thing, right?
I am.
Yeah, well,
He was a
is.
little lukewarm, kind of.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? Because there's this awkwardness and tension where, like, yeah, Anthony Richardson is the future. It's like, oh, Joe Flacco probably gives us a better chance to win today, and we kind of need to win today to keep our playoff hopes alive. So, particularly in terms of fantasy repercussions, like Josh Downs, what does he look like? Yeah, Anthony Richardson back in the building. It's
Yeah.
it's
High
an
five.
awkward
See,
return.
high five, but see, it's high HI, comma 5. Get it?
Could be by 5 if he isn't
Wow.
good again and Joe Flacco
Okay.
takes over.
Ooh,
once
I'm glad
more.
we got to play these games.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I mean, it's bad news. I think it's bad news for Michael Pittman.
Got a
Josh
new
Downs.
haircut.
He says he's rich off faith. That's the T-shirt there.
Yeah. Well, hopefully
Loris,
his new
your
haircut
thoughts?
makes
You're
him
the
throw
t-shirt
ball
king.
The completion percentage.
You-
for
Oh,
the first time
he's
ever.
good. He's ready to go. He's
better than
dressed
Joe
to-
Flacco right
He's
now?
dressed to impress. What's that?
Is he better than Joe Flacco right now?
T-shirt game or
We're going to
playing
see
wise?
today, yes. He's better for this team than Joe Flacco. In fact, Joe Flacco even pretty much said that. But, we'll talk about that a little later, right?
Okay.
My storyline is this Bucks backfield, Jay. It's crazy. It's looking crazy right now. 3-headed monster. Which one will benefit the most against this tough Ravens run defense, the top rushing defense in the league? Rashad White, Sean Tucker, Bucky Irvin. It's going to be tough to run against them, but maybe they could get something through the receiving game. But the problem is all of these running backs are known and can catch the ball out the backfield, so that'll be interesting to see today.
All right, mine involves the Steelers. Probably the worst kept secret, can we say that? Thanks to George Pickens, who is going to be at the helm today. Russell Wilson in, Fields out. The question is really, who should be playing? 4-2 with Justin Fields. But that being said, didn't complete 60% of his passes the last 2 games. So you've got Russell Wilson, obviously we know Super Bowl champion, but is he that same quarterback as he was back then? And who benefits the most from the offensive side in terms of having him at the helm? Maybe it is George Pickens. So that should be interesting to watch against the Jets.
No question. Let's ride.
Yeah.
Let's steal. What's his new one? Because when he's in Broncos country, he was "Let's ride," and now
up.
steal up,
Still up.
curtain
yeah.
down, let's ride.
Not curtain down. It's
Curtain
definitely
down.
not curtain down.
Why not?
It'd be like curtain up.
No,
Yeah.
but
Are you putting
that's
a
the whole
curtain
point of
down
the
on
steel
his
curtain.
career?
The whole point of a steel curtain is that it comes down and you can't get through the steel curtain.
Exactly, on defense. He
Yes,
plays on
exactly.
offense.
Curtain down.
Yeah. No.
But he's trying to be a cheerleader for the
You
team.
just go still up because then it's no debate with it.
Yeah. Steal
Where
up.
the curtain's going.
Steal
yeah,
up.
steal up.
For me, I just enjoy whatever's the most awkward. Curtain down. Curtain down it is. All
Let's
right.
take a look at injuries and notable players ruled out as of week 7. Okay, so Jonathan Taylor, Jerome Ford. This was a big one, and I'll mention it a little bit later when we're talking about shot for shot. And Spears being out. For you guys here, most significant player not playing this week?
I think it's got to be Jonathan Taylor, who is, obviously one of the elite running backs in the league. It'll be the Trace Sherman show again. I think Jawan Jennings being out is a sneaky one. That opens the door for more touches naturally for Deebo Samuel and George Kittle, but also potentially Ricky Pearsall playing in his first game. And Dallas Goedert being out is a big deal too. Already a barren tight end position. Our friend Denny Carter was trying to sell us on Grant Calcaterra. Not really buying Grant Calcaterra stock at this
Not
point.
yet.
No. So, it's a strange. That offense has always been very simplified. It's always been 3 guys in the passing game. Now it's going to be 2. Now it's just
Yeah,
Devontae
the only
Smith and AJ
ones
Brown.
I would add, I agree with your list there, Jay. The only 2 that I would add very quickly is Tajay Spears being out. I think Tony Pollard's set up to have a top 10 fantasy day. It's a great matchup as well. He's going to get the majority of the work there with no Spears out there as well. And then the other one here is that not listed on there was Cooper Kupp. You sort of mentioned that briefly, but the thought was that Cooper Kupp would return this week. Adam Schefter tweeting late last night or early this morning, basically that they're going to test him pregame, but they're not expected to have Cooper Kupp. Now, in fairness, Schefter also said like James Cook was going to play on a Monday night and he didn't, and there's been a little bit of you can never take those 100% for granted, but as of right now, like I'll just tell you for the leagues that I have Kupp in, I took him out. I either took him out or I made sure that I had a legit pivot at 4 o'clock. So Jordan Whittington, I think, is somebody that is due for a bigger role today.
All right, we'll talk about injuries and where they lost a little bit later for the early and later games. Keeping an eye on Pats, Jags in London. Jags lead 22-10 in the third with about 13:40 to go in that quarter.
Brian Thomas is that. I remember we were earlier in the season, we talked about the fact that we thought Jaden Daniels would win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Malik Neighbors is probably 2, but Brian Thomas would probably finish 3rd over Marvin Harrison Jr. It's becoming even bigger distance now. He's probably going to finish 4th because Caleb Williams is going to get ranked, voted in there as well, since we had that conversation. But Brian Thomas is the truth. And in my Dynasty League, I had the number 1 overall pick, and I took Marvin Harrison, and I'm sort of regretting it now.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
It's still
Dynasty means a long time.
A long time.
You want to talk about Brian Thomas Jr. while I'm watching Dearness Johnson get a carry. That's who I had to start today in the league of assholes.
Right.
Like, we hurting right now.
Yes.
So I'm hoping for one of them cheap touchdowns today out of him.
I had to start him in a deep league, too. He's got 3 for 32 in the passing game. We'll see.
Cool with
Jags
that.
moving the ball.
That's nice. Yeah.
You know what? And by the way, I'm rooting for the Jags. Again, I'm a Doug Peterson fan. Doug Peterson, friend of the show. If they lose this game, he's fired, be my guess.
Yeah.
I think it's
managing Crystal Palace in London, just stays over there.
I think so, probably, right? So anyway, actually, they own Fulham FC. The people that own the Jaguars also own Fulham FC.
I don't think they want Doug managing Fulham FC.
No, I don't think so.
He's done a great job.
I don't think so
Won't
either.
be the next step.
Anyway.
Won't be the next step.
All right.
Let's dive into some of these matchups we got. It's good
Yes.
week. Okay, we got to start with obviously where you guys just left off. New York Jets 2-4.
We didn't put Britney on the graphic.
He asked me for it. I'll be honest. He asked me for a headshot, and I didn't know where it was going or what it was going to look like. So I was a little bit concerned there. I'll be honest.
Burn George's skull
I
again.
will be very honest. I didn't want to get
supposed to go where I
involved.
went, and they was gonna put my face by the fire now since I'm the next
I
one
would
up out of here.
Brittany, as a young woman in media, that is smart to be protective of your image at all times.
Who knows what it was going to look like? But
Yes,
now that I see
fair.
that, it's great. I mean, I think I could rock a cowboy hat. Okay,
Probably.
we'll start with New York Jets. We're 2-4 at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, we mentioned a lot about what the additions are for both teams and who's starting. 4-2 Jets are favored. -2 over under is 39.
Yeah, so I think for me, the interesting thing here is you see sort of the ranks there. I think the biggest question here is what's the passing game? Look, I think we feel pretty good about Breece Hall is the guy, right?
Sure.
Rodgers is going to be what he is. Rodgers, he's probably he's like a low-end QB1, high-end QB2. You don't love the matchup, tough offensive line. He's going to be running for TJ Watt and company all game long, but he'll get the ball out quick enough. The question to me is Garrett Wilson. What do you do with Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams? I have Garrett Wilson ranked slightly higher today. I have for tonight. I have him at 12 and Devontae Adams at 15, right? But Wilson, over the past 2 games, has a 39% target share. Even if that comes down a little bit, I think they're going to be able to throw enough that Rodgers between Wilson and Devontae Adams, the coverage will be able to dictate it. What this means is like the Alan Lazard, the Mike Williams, the Tyler Conklins of the world, they go away. I think both are absolutely starting, and it's a good thing that you can bet. I was going to say if I was a betting man, and I am,
You are a
and I
betting
am
man.
a betting man. Devontae Adams gets into the end zone tonight. I've already bet that anytime touchdown.
Yeah, no, I like that. I think, to me, Lawrence, another interesting aspect of this game is that, Breece Hall, everyone's like, yeah, Breece Hall is definitely back. He got massive majority of the workload last week. But to me, Breece Hall just doesn't look right still. He doesn't look the explosive self that he was 2 years ago. And even times last year where, particularly in that touchdown that he didn't score, where he didn't make the last guy miss, he just doesn't look as fast and explosive to me.
Yeah, I was just about to bring that up, that long run that he had. I was thinking he's scoring, he's going to cut back in, score the touchdown. So I would like to see this type of volume for him again and really see if he back going. Yeah.
Oh, this is my first time reading a question. I think I can.
You got it.
Cactus Carl saying, non-PPR.
By the way, I believe that's his Christian name. Yeah.
Great photo. Non-PPR flex must start 1. Devontae Adams, Tank Dell, Bucky Irving. Pick 1. Might need upside as Kamara did little in Thursday Night Football.
That's being kind in terms of what little. I'm going with Devontae Adams. We just talked about this. Worth noting, the Steelers have allowed a touchdown to an opposing wide receiver in 4 straight games. They're allowing the 4th highest yards per reception to opposing wide receivers. So give me Devontae Adams. It's him or Tank Dell. Lawrence, to your point, I don't want any part of that Buccaneers running back situation on Monday night. One of them will catch passes. The Ravens are actually bad against pass-catching running backs, but the problem is Tucker, Irving, and Rashad White all catch passes. So you just pick your poison there. But I think it's Adams over Tank Dell. We saw the emergence of Tank Dell last week as well, but I I don't know.
I think that this
It's
is
close,
Aaron,
but
this is
give me
Aaron
Adams.
Rodgers we talking about. He wants to prove people
1,000%.
wrong. They're gonna force the issue with this. They're getting him that touchdown, like you said.
Yeah.
Yep. Particularly if you need
Pick up right
upside.
where they left off.
Yep.
Yeah,
Right?
he needs. Yeah, exactly. I mean, well, upside. You could see it with Tank Dell too. I mean, let's be clear. Both guys. I mean, going up against Green Bay, they're bottom 12 pass defense, but and that game could have sneaky shut-up potential. But if you're telling me one of the guys on this team has one of the guys on your list, Cactus Carl, has 2 touchdowns, it's Davante Adams.
Yep.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So when it comes to Garrett Wilson and Davante Adams, are they both still wide receiver ones?
Yes. For me,
you?
I think they're more wide receiver 2s than wide
yeah, I was
receiver
gonna
1s,
say
but they're
wide
both
receiver two.
they're both starters. They're both guys that you're going to
Like
start.
Garrett Wilson is wide receiver 13 right now with those big last 2 weeks, and Allen Lazard's been wide receiver 18. So you put Adams in there for Lazard, and they could definitely coexist. But Allen Lazard's still not going away.
Yeah, I feel like you're saying Davante Adams is better than Allen Lazard, which is a bold take, but I agree with you.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Not
We'll
going to lean
see.
into it. It's a maybe. I like what Garrett Wilson had to tweet right after, though, Adams was signed. We got to go now. So embracing it. All
100%.
right, next matchup. We'll take a look at the Miami Dolphins. We're 2-3 off of a bye week at the Indianapolis Colts. We're 3-3. The Colts are favored by 3. We talked about this earlier. Are you starting Anthony Richardson in his first game back?
Ideally, no. I'm at QB 13 this week. He's had 3 full games. He's averaging under 14 fantasy points per game. No quarterback with at least 50 attempts this season has a higher off-target rate than Anthony Richardson, Lawrence.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, the Dolphins off the bye, they have 2 weeks to prepare for this. They're allowing a league low 8.5 fantasy points per game to opposing quarterbacks. You can run on Miami, which is what I think the Colts will try to do. And that's the only hope for Richardson's fantasy value today, in my opinion.
They're going against this. We got a game where Tyler Huntley's on one side at quarterback, then you got Anthony Richardson, and this game total is 43.5 points. Like, that's not low. And when you look at the most likely person to score a touchdown in this game per DraftKings odds, it's Anthony Richardson, and it ain't close. You're in the game with Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Devon Achane, and it's Anthony Richardson at plus 105 who has the best odds to score. The next best guy is his teammate Trey Sermon, who I don't think anybody thinks anything great about him. So I'm liking Anthony Richardson to not only probably throw a touchdown pass today, but I would say almost definitely he's running one in today. So yes, I am starting him today, especially in the league of assholes.
Yep. I like it. I think it's
Brittany,
borderline.
did you see how Lawrence was talking himself into that? He's just kept
A
on
little
going.
bit.
I
Honestly,
don't got to talk myself into. I just
I felt like
traded
he was
Connor
looking at you the whole
Rodgers
time.
for Anthony Richardson with great confidence. I feel great, Matthew.
I feel like he was trying to convince me, too. And I was feeling it.
Look.
If we were doing pickup
You
lines,
even
I'd
got
say
him
yes.
at quarterback 13, which is like, because if it was that bad,
Yeah, it's
you know,
QB 13.
you make him quarterback 22.
No, he's got it. No, he's got a chance to get into the end zone. I'm with you, Lawrence. I'm with you. I'm rooting
Okay.
for you today.
Let's see.
I'm rooting for you today. I'm rooting
YouTube
for you
question.
today. And when you're on the Golf
at
Channel next week, I'm
JDF.
gonna wave to you. What do we got? Here.
Proposed trade. He needs quarterback and I need a running back. Anthony Richardson in exchange for Chuba Hubbard. What do you do?
I would do well.
Who's your quarterback?
Yeah, that it's
That's
hard
right.
to answer this.
We need
in
a follow-up.
Right, because here's the issue. Jonathan Brooks, the window for Jonathan Brooks to return has opened. He's returned to practice. I don't know how much longer Chuba Hubbard has as an elite running back here. So for this week, I prefer Hubbard, right? I think Hubbard's going to have a nice game against Washington later today. But Anthony Richardson has a chance to turn it around. Hubbard, we just don't know.
Yeah,
I think it's a fair trade. I'll say this. I think it's a fair trade because even if Hubbard has 40%, over the second half of the year has 40% of the Panthers, I don't think Brooks takes over the job entirely. Hubbard's been too good.
It depends on your quarterback situation, obviously, but I think also you need to regress a little bit to preseason still, particularly with someone like Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
It's can you imagine before the season trading Anthony Richardson for Chuba Hubbard? That'd be complete madness. And I think that they are going to both regress to what was expected more preseason.
I would say this. I think we're pretty close to Chuba Hubbard's ceiling.
Yeah.
Whereas to Anthony Richardson, I don't think we've
the
seen it
basement.
yet.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is start number 9 in his career.
You're absolutely selling low and buying high right here, which I don't love to do. I don't mind, but if it's in one quarterback league, I don't mind trading one quarterback because I don't have a ton of value. So if he needs a running back, Hard. JDF, in essence, basically what we're saying here is that in an ideal world, you hang on to Richardson. If you can get by without it, hang on to Richardson because his trade value will be higher, we think, in a couple of weeks beyond what it is right now.
Okay, back to that matchup. We talked a lot about the Colts. What about Miami? Is there any sort of optimism for the Miami offense in this matchup? Jay?
Yes, I think there is. I think there's a lot of optimism, and there's a couple of reasons
quick
why.
response, by the way.
Yeah, I'm very bullish on Miami today, or at least their offense getting right. And the reason is Colts secondary is a mess. They've been a mess all season. They're banged up as well. They give up a lot of explosive plays. Tyler Huntley, like, everyone was kind of somewhat bullish on Tyler Huntley coming into the Miami experience, and then he was bad the first 2 games, but he was bad in games that were outdoors against tough-ish defenses in the Titans and Patriots. Now he's in a dome, most favorite matchup. He's come off the bye as well. Everyone says this Mike McDaniel offense is extremely difficult to get a handle on. Now he has the bye, and I just think it's still Tirico Hill and Jalen Waddle. Tirico Hill set at 57.5 receiving yards. With Tua, he set at 95.5. Is it really that much difference? It's different, but I think that's gone too far. So I think the Dolphins' offense is going to look the best that it has under Tyler Huntley.
Is Jay always this passionate? I feel very strongly
very
about
fired
this one.
up. Very fired up for some reason about a team I don't care at all about.
I'm definitely with you on that. Again, in Tyler Huntley's second start with the Dolphins, they got a little bit better. Tyreek Hill caught 6 of 10 targets. Jalen Waddle caught 4 of 8 targets. So those 2 guys are going to get the ball. And then when you look at the running game, Devon Achane is back. You could run on this Colts defense as well. And we saw the last time the Dolphins played, they got the run game going with Jalen Wright and Raheem Mostert. So, yeah, I would feel good about Dolphins' skilled players against the Colts defense.
Yeah, you just saw Tyreek Hill walking in there. He gave the shooter McGavin. Looking
sharp.
good right there, looking sharp.
Green on green.
I'll say this, by the way, over the last 4 weeks, the Colts are a bottom 5 pass defense. This is not a good defense, to your point, Jay. They've had 2 weeks to prepare here as well. While it hasn't been pretty, Tyler Huntley, in the 2 games that he started, Tyreek Hill has a 33% target share. A 33% target share, and again, he's one of those guys that, as long as he gets the ball in his hands, he's got a chance to take it to the house anytime he touches it as well. I have Devon Achane at running back 16, 4 full games so far this year, 17.6% target share. You could see Huntley, dumping it off a little bit to Achane. Colts allow not only the 5th most rushing yards to opposing running backs, but they're also bottom 10 in terms of most receiving yards allowed to opposing running backs. So I think Achane is a very solid RB2. I think Mostert is a legitimate flex today. And to your point about Tyreek Hill, I just don't know how you. I'll talk emotionally here for a second. If you bench Tyreek Hill and he goes off, you're going to sit there and go what the hell was I doing? Why? How did I bench Tyreek Hill? I'm a moron.
You can't do it.
But you know what? If you start Tyreek Hill and he doesn't do anything today, you're like, well, what are you going to do? It's Tyreek Hill. I'm with Jay here. They've had 2 weeks to prepare to get Huntley. Pro Bowl quarterback Tyler Huntley, by the way.
Ridiculous.
Anyway, whatever. The matchup is too good. They've had 2 weeks to prepare. I'm starting the normal Dolphins that you would.
Feeling the optimism. Okay,
I am.
Probably, I'm not going to say probably, one of the most highly anticipated matchups, of course, coming. Kansas City Chiefs undefeated at the San Francisco 49ers. So what is that? Yes, of course, it's a rematch of Super Bowl 58, and the Niners are favored by 2. So question is, and I think we're going to have a strong answer from Matthew on this one, is Patrick Mahomes still a must-start QB?
He's not. I'm at QB 18. You see it right there on your screen, Brittany. He has yet to have a game this season with 17 or more fantasy points. 4 of the 6 quarterbacks that have faced the Niners so far this year have scored under 14 fantasy points. Week 2 was the last time the Niners allowed multiple touchdown passes. They've been really good. This is a must-win for the Niners. This is a very important game for them. The Chiefs are undefeated, but the Niners season is a little bit on the brink. They're lucky in that they're in a bad division, and so they can still figure this out. I will say this, though. I bet the Chiefs' money line. Andy Reid is 21-4 lifetime off of a bye. I bet the Chiefs' money line in this one at plus money, Lawrence, in honor of you. But what I will say is I don't think Mahomes is a must-start, to answer your question, Brittany. Again, I think he's merely a QB2 in this one.
He's going to play good real-life football, make the play when it needs to be made. But in fantasy, he's quarterback 20 in fantasy points per game behind Kirk Cousins, Bo Nix, Dak Prescott. So I would much rather be starting guys like Caleb Williams, Sam Darnold, C.J. Stroud.
Caleb Williams on a bye this week, just to be clear.
I'm just saying in general.
After he went off.
I just don't want to start Caleb Williams today.
Don't start Caleb Williams today.
Okay, good.
Do it next week against the Commanders, though.
Next week, definitely against the Commanders. Sorry, Matthew, but
I get it.
Patrick Mahomes, no, he's not a must start. He's a must-have quarterback in your regular football team, but no, definitely not in fantasy.
Yeah, I think the concern as well, like the Mahomes optimism is largely based on what he looked like on Monday Night Football against the Saints a couple of weeks ago. He looked great. Like, they were able to move the ball, and he should have had a better stat line. But now we've seen 2 more weeks of the Saints, and it looks like an absolute mess with their defense. So I would be a little bit concerned that also, even though the Chiefs are off the bye, Niners have had 10 days as well, so that minimizes that advantage a bit.
Okay, so then concern level, when we're taking a look at the Niners, concern level for Jordan Mason. You had mentioned him earlier, pretty much at the top of the show. So any concern for Jordan Mason in this matchup? Off the IR after limited practices to start week 7?
Yeah, so I think the concern is twofold. One, the Chiefs' run defense has been phenomenal. And then secondly, Jordan Mason, like, it seems like he's going to be a little bit limited with the shoulder. And you know, just with that shoulder injury, it's something that could get re-aggravated. He came back into the game against Seattle, and Kyle Shanahan's like, yeah, he's fully good to go. All right, great. Well, he had 1 run, and then he was out for the rest of the game. So I do worry that that is something where if he just takes 1 hit, and it doesn't even have to be a massive hit, then he could be out for the game, and then it's the Isaac Guerrero show.
Okay, so Osborne Crocs. I'm just intrigued by this name. Hashtag FF Pregame. Is it too cute to start Juju over Mason matchup? And the shoulder scare me, as you were just mentioning.
I get it. I get the question. I think it is probably a little bit too cute. You know, I would still go Jordan Mason. Look, I understand Jay's concerns, and I have them as well. He's running back 23 for me, which is the lowest I've ranked the starting running back of the 49ers in a long, long time. Chiefs allow the second fewest rushing yards per game to opposing running backs. Here's a list of some of the notable running backs to face the Chiefs this year. Derrick Henry had 46 yards. J.K. Dobbins, 32 yards. Bijan Robinson, 31 yards. Alvin Kamara, 26 yards. So a lot of big names that have struggled against this Chiefs run defense. No running back has scored more than 13.2 fantasy points against the Chiefs so far this year. The 4 that I just mentioned averaged 11.4. Having said all that, I think that, you know, we saw 1 good game from Juju. Who knows? Like, we saw this like 2 years ago. Juju would have a big game and then disappear. I'm having to start Juju in the league of assholes, but I don't feel great about it. And so I just think with Jordan Mason, I think you're banking on hopefully volume and potential for a touchdown, that you're hoping Mason falls in the end zone. I don't think we're expecting huge numbers for him. That's why he's running back 23, more of a high-end flex than an RB1 or 2. But he does have a better shot at a touchdown than Juju Smith-Schuster, and he does have – he's going to more guaranteed work, I would say.
Give me Mason in that scenario. You also got Isaac Guerrero there, who's kind of, you know, he's hovering around in there. He had a good game the last time out, so yeah, definitely. But still, Mason in this scenario.
Have we seen much line movement on any of these games that we've looked at thus far?
Yeah, so the Niners one has been interesting. It's bounced around all over the place between pick and -2. There's been a bit more for San Francisco money lately. Miami, Indianapolis, that's one that's come towards Miami as well. And then this next game that we're going to talk about, Detroit, Minnesota, that's the one that has really moved Minnesota with 2.5-point favorites. Now they're just 1-point favorites.
Okay, so let's get into that one. Detroit Lions 4-1 at Minnesota Vikings, who are also undefeated, as you mentioned, the line movement on that one, over under 50.
Jay, why is such significant line movement on that one?
I think the number was just wrong to start with.
That's what I thought too. I was surprised. Go ahead, but
well,
I'm
I think
interrupting
that
you.
like right now, home field advantage in the NFL is worth about 1.5 points.
Right.
So Minnesota -2.5. Now they're coming off the bye, which helps, but that implies that Minnesota are just a straight up better team than Detroit. I still can't quite get there. I think that still, like, Minnesota came into the season with like a win total of 7, and Detroit were the second favorite to win the NFC. Detroit should have been in the Super Bowl last year if Josh Reynolds doesn't lose his mind in the second half against San Francisco. So I think this line is fair right now. I think the Lions are slightly better, even without Hutchinson, but the Vikings at home off of a bye. That's why they're 1-point favorites. I mean, this is a coin flip. It's just a coin flip game.
I think it should be a great game. Yeah.
All right, Battle of the NFC North. So my question is Sam Laporta still a top 10 tight end?
He is, Brittany, because the bar is so low. I mean, it really is.
We were talking about ceilings earlier. Now we're looking
at it's so low. It's like, I don't know if you've ever heard this phrase, but in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. That's for these guys. She's heard that one.
Shocker.
Yeah.
I've heard it as well, but I've heard it 87 times in the past 3 years working with you every day, Matthew.
In the land
Twice,
of the blind,
3 times a show.
the one-eyed man is king. And so, given how brutal the tight end position is in fantasy, Sam Laporta is still a top 10 tight end. Now, he's borderline. I have him at tight end 10 this week as well, but it's a decent matchup. Vikings have allowed the 7th most fantasy points to opposing tight ends, right? And the 8th most receptions per game. George Kittle, Tucker Kraft, both finished as the tight end 1 when they played the Vikings as well. Now, I get it. He's not seen an end zone target since week 1. On the season, he's got a 10% target share. They're running the ball so effectively, the Lions are, with both Montgomery and Gibbs. And then, of course, the emergence of Jameson Williams along with Amon-Ra St. Brown. There's just a lot of mouths to feed in that offense, and Laporta just hasn't gotten fed. Having said that, again, the bar to be a tight end 1 in fantasy these days is a very low one. So I think he is barely, I don't know. I think he's due. I think he's
Are
due.
you convincing
He's
yourself?
due,
He had a
Lawrence.
pretty solid day last week. One catch, 1 target, 52 yards and a touchdown. Hey, that's
you go.
all you could ask for a tight end in fantasy these days. But hopefully
And
the
see where the
Lions,
bar lies.
hopefully
Yeah.
they're looking at this Vikings defense and they've seen that the Vikings defense has allowed tight ends for 2 weeks straight to catch 6 of 9 targets for 50-plus yards. So hopefully they feed them a little bit more today.
Sure.
Just a nod. Just a nod from Jay.
Full agreement.
In agreement. Okay. I watched this last week. I'm very excited for shot.
Yeah. Get the shots up.
I mean,
She watched it last week. I mean, like 2.5 years she's ignored us.
Thank
but
goodness.
when she knew she had the gig, then she, that's fine. Thanks,
Exactly.
Brett.
Yeah, I mean,
Appreciate you.
I'm a diehard. I'm the one that's,
Yeah,
behind
yeah.
somebody else sending you comments on
No,
YouTube.
that's fair.
All right. I'm glad that these aren't very fully filled, I should say. Matthew, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, they're filled for me, basically. All right, but here you go.
It is a bit of a lightweight.
What? I am a little bit of a lightweight. Oh, but believe me, you never have, Brittany, but Lawrence and Jay have been drunk with me many times. Or seen me drunk.
Hey, great
There's
time.
always
many
today.
times. Good times.
No time for the present.
The day is early, for no question. All right, J.K. Dobbins. I say J.K. Dobbins finishes as a top 10 running back this week. He's facing the Cardinals, who allow the second most rushing yards per game to opposing running backs. No Gus Edwards. Kamani Vidal, I know he had the big play, but he didn't get a lot of work. So in a big game on Monday Night Football, J.K. Dobbins, top 10 running back for the Chargers.
Okay.
Here's to you.
I like
Jay?
it. Second favorite, comeback player of the year, J.K. Dobbins. I'm going with Malik Neighbors, over 72.5 receiving yards in his comeback. Here is how I'd phrase it. Can you imagine betting under on 72.5 Malik Neighbors and how terrifying that would be? Given that he gets 1 million targets per game and he goes up against a very suspect Eagles secondary. It's going to be chippy against Quinyon Mitchell. I think Neighbors goes over in his return.
Can I give you a quick impression of how scary that would be?
Yes.
Terrifying.
It's Halloween. I mean, we're approaching it.
I like
quickly.
that.
That means very scary, I guess.
There you go.
Lawrence wasn't scared at all.
I just like to make jokes.
Terrifying.
Very, yes.
The impression in your face.
Lawrence, what do you got for us?
My first shot's going to be one of these guys on a new team. Amari Cooper scores a touchdown in his Bills debut. That's at plus 140. Look, the Titans are down and out. They're out here losing games. They're coming off a game where they let 2 wide receivers score. So in his first game with Josh Allen got him a true wide receiver 1 now. He gets in the end zone in his first time out.
I feel like things are going to get a little contentious between Lawrence and I when we look at each of our shot for shots, because I am going for my first shot, Tony Pollard with 100+ rushing yards, because the Bills have not been great against the run, surrendered the 9th most rushing yards to running backs in 2024. Also with Spears out, I think he's going to get more touches than last week. Season high, 93 rushing yards.
No, that's all
TP.
going to happen.
Okay,
Yeah.
you think it's still going to
I like
happen?
that.
But you're
Yeah.
okay.
I like
okay.
that.
that's
All right,
100%.
let's see. All right. Round
My
2.
turn. Let me find my shot glass.
Well, there's only 3 of them.
I know. I'm already
One of them's already empty.
I'm already a little
One
buzzed.
flip chance.
All right, here we go. This one's for the Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield finishes a top 5 fantasy quarterback this week. By the way, he's already a top 5 fantasy quarterback on the year as well. 5 of the 6 quarterbacks that have faced the Ravens this season have thrown for at least 269 yards. Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans is going to play. He's going to go off. They can't run against Baltimore. It's a pass funnel defense. The Bake Show lights it up on Monday night. Top 5 fantasy play this week.
Like
Very
it.
good. All right, well, I'm going against the team Baker Mayfield used to play. There's no better way to start your Sunday than betting against Deshaun Watson.
Fair.
Bengals, they cover -5.5. It's very difficult to quantify exactly how bad Deshaun Watson is at the quarterback position right now. Bengals defense was improved against the Giants last week. Joe Burrow is playing at an MVP level. They cover -5.5 with ease.
I like it.
All right. My second shot is for Britney's Los Angeles Rams
There we
right
go.
here. I'm going to go Kyron Williams, 114 yards and 2 touchdowns
Dude.
for the top fantasy running back. Las Vegas is the 10th worst run defense. They allow almost 111 rushing yards per game to running backs alone. You see what your boy Najee Harris did to them last week?
Yeah, it's true.
Had his
Monster.
best day of the season, 106 yards. Kyron Williams has scored a touchdown in every game this season. I think he scores 2 today against the lowly Raiders, who have nothing but Brock Bowers.
We have a touchdown parlay bet coming up later, and Kyron Williams is not part of it, but he should have been.
I don't
Right,
even
well-
see how, but it's probably
No,
he probably
it's
minus
odds were like
230.
minus, yes.
Yeah.
I had him as one of my 3. It was kind of toying
Yeah.
between. He was like
Yeah,
minus
yeah.
220.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I
That's
need to
probably
find a little
why.
bit
That's
of
probably we probably just look at it and be like, oh, that's
You're like,
too
absolutely
Yeah,
not.
odds.
Yeah,
But I'm just
scores in
saying,
every game.
He's him and Dave Montgomery.
I'm getting a little bit, let's say, I don't want to say bullish, but maybe taking a bold look
Okay.
at these following two. Okay,
yep.
but I like everything that Lawrence had to say. So I'm taking Rams to cover against the Raiders. Last time I looked, -7
Yep.
was the spread, yeah? Okay, why? Because of all the reasons he just said. Kyron Williams, 6 touchdowns in 5 starts. Favorable matchup against the Raiders, who are seemingly giving up on the season with significant injuries. Obviously traded Devontae Adams. They're 0-7 though against the spread on extra rest in 2022. That is not in my favor, but I think they end that streak on Sunday.
There you go. Off the
Cheers.
bye.
Go Rams.
Like it. All right. I've already hinted at this a few times, but I'm gonna wait. Oh, there's my close-up. There we go. Yeah, Devontae
Camera
Adams. Devontae Adams. You already heard Lawrence talk about Amari Cooper in his first game as a Bill. He thinks he's going to score. I think Devontae Adams scores in his first game as a New York Jet. He's played his last 29 games that he's played with Aaron Rodgers. Devontae Adams has 29 touchdowns. Tonight is game 30. I think he gets touchdown number 30 with A-Rod under center. Devontae Adams, anytime touchdown at +170. Let's go 17.
Okay, my last shot, Miami Dolphins. Just gonna say some words in sequence. Tyreek Hill, 57.5 receiving yards. Tyreek Hill, 57.5. It's madness.
Yeah.
It's insane.
One more time.
He was set 40 yards higher in games last year. He's in a dome going against a bad defense.
I'm literally
Tyreek
going to
Hill,
bet that right now.
57.5
I'm literally going to bet that
receiving
right now.
yards.
That's
It's
insanity.
insanity.
Take a little
I'm with you.
offline with that.
I'm with
He goes
you.
over.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm betting that right now, Jay.
Thank you,
I'm
Matthew.
betting that right
Thank
now.
you for that solidarity.
That's the belief I have in
So
you.
you
Bet
play.
it again.
Yes. Yeah. Go ahead. While you guys, I'm doing they have to.
While
and
Matthew
Panikin,
puts
whole
that
log
bet
thing.
in, I'm
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
do my last one. We're going to take it to KC. I say, though, the Chiefs as underdogs will win today by an outline of 2.5. That's at +129 right now. There's been one receiver this season who has got over 70 receiving yards against that Chiefs defense. It was Rashid Shaheed because of a deep ball play. It wasn't Jamar Chase. It wasn't Drake London. I think this is going to be a ball control offensive run game by the Chiefs. I think they go into San Francisco, get the W by at least 2.5.
Boy.
It's gone up to 58.5, by the way. Just
Still,
but
should
just
be
the
15
power of you.
yards higher.
Yeah, exactly.
Wager made?
Tyreek Hill.
Okay.
Tyreek Hill just went up to 58.5.
I shouldn't have come in, first day here and said I'm going to go exactly against what Lawrence just said, but
No, you should.
I went
No,
for
yeah, you should.
No, you're like a wily
Niners.
veteran with that move. You clearly watched the show.
Yeah, obviously. See? Told you.
Yep.
Niners to hand Chiefs their first defeat of the season.
Yes,
I am-
like it, Brittany.
Now you're going against me.
I know.
California strong.
And that's saying something considering how well Andy Reid does off a bye week. But
Yep.
Debo in the lineup after being placed on the IR, they have home field advantage, and I just kind of think they want it a little bit more. Right? There's so much more on the line for them.
Chiefs are pretty. They chilling this season.
I don't wanna say
Chiefs
complacent,
are
but-
waiting for something to actually come up. They're waiting to play a game this year.
They're gonna get a game today.
Yeah,
They're gonna
all
get a game.
Yeah,
Niners
yeah.
I think it'll be
Niners
close.
are Niners are definitely more desperate.
Not
There's
going
no
3
question
and
about
4.
it. Huh?
They're not going to go to 3 and 4. Sorry, Niners win today. 4
Think
and
so?
3. Yes.
I knew I liked
Yeah,
it.
they're the best team in
Minus
football.
the fan-
I think
You're
the
a
Chiefs
Mets
win.
fan.
What was we had a bet Friday. I don't remember what our bet Friday
That
was.
was just for dinner, and
know.
I stupidly gave you 1.5 points on the Chiefs when you just won.
We did the bet. We did make that bet. Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to bet you again, but all right, that's good. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine.
Yep.
Yeah, good. Thank you for remembering that. I barely remember anything.
All right, remember to tweet the show. What do we got in here? Wow, that
Wow.
is quite the get-up. David Njoku. This state
100
ain't
yards, 2
big
touchdowns
enough
for David
the two
Njoku
of
today.
us.
I go the other way. Bengals minus 15.
Are
You can't
you
have that.
kidding me?
Bengals
Stop it.
killing.
I actually
David
think
and
this
Joku.
should be the new burning question shot. That is the outfit for it, right?
I'm not gay, but if I was, I would go home with that cowboy.
What?
Come on, that's a great look. Let's go, David and Joku. Let's go.
It's a very welcome sight. Nick Chubb is warming up for his season debut against the Bengals today. He's finally back, and rumor has it he arrived to the stadium earlier than the beat writers did. So he's ready, focused, back in action. All right, who's not going to be back in action? Well, Will Levis, we have the notable Week 7 injury update. So these are the earlier games, but everyone else active. And Matthew, I heard you him and Han over here. What was that over?
I'm surprised that Dontavian Wicks is active. Like, we thought this was like a multi-week injury. That was like
Green Bay's doing some weird stuff with their
some
injuries.
weird stuff. I would not start Dontavian Wicks. I want no part of it. Pierce, Downs, and Pittman all active for the Colts. It's a little bit dicey, obviously, with Anthony Richardson, who's completing like 50% of his passes out there. We'll talk about Nick Chubb here in a second, but good to see Kenneth Walker active as well. There was concern that he might miss. They activated a couple of people off the practice squad, but he's going to go as well. You see some of the late game guys and their statuses here right now. We talked earlier in the show about Cooper Kupp. The reporting by Adam Schefter is that he's not expected to go. They're going to test him pregame, but he's not expected to go. Jordan Whittington is expected to go. However, Zamir White might be back, but that's a that's going to be now a three-headed monster for the Raiders. Brian Robinson expected to play, as is Deontay Johnson in what should be a shootout in Washington. Robinson's going to get into the end zone today, by the way.
Yep. Also, Jacoby Myers being doubtful. Trey Tucker is now the number one wide receiver on an NFL team, and he'll be available a lot of places, and then two, he set at 37.5 receiving yards. Like, he's the number one wide receiver for
He
the
didn't do
NFL team.
anything last week when he was the number one guy, too. That's
I know, but he was out there. He was out there for like every snap, and now it's a really bad defense that they're going against.
He ran a lot of routes. All right, we got another question here.
All right, from John Crow. All right, hashtag FF pregame, Downs, Andrews, or Booty for one flex position. I'm already down 24 due to facing Denver.
Well, Butte you can't play because he's playing right now. So it's really
Downs.
between Josh Downs and Mark Andrews. I'm going Josh Downs.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't trust Mark Andrews at all. I know he scored the touchdown. I know he's had 55 in 2 straight games here, but just it was a broken coverage and just it wouldn't surprise me if Andrews does something. The Buccaneers' pass defense is so brutal, but he's not playing. He's playing barely 50% of the snaps.
Isaiah Likely's consistently playing more than Mark Andrews is.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he's a touchdown dependent. He's like kind of the guy like Hunter Henry was last year. He's like a touchdown dependent tight end.
Which is crazy to say.
Archetype. Yeah.
But it's true.
Yeah.
100%. So, John, we're saying Josh Downs.
Speaking of Jags, Pats, 25-10 in favor of the Jags. All right. Top running back waiver ads available in over 50% of the leagues. What do we do with this team?
Well, listen, Jonathan Taylor's not going to play, so Trey Sermon, along with Tyler Goodson, they're going to probably split the carries in what should be a very nice matchup against a bottom 12 run defense in the Dolphins over the last 4 weeks as well. I will just say this, though. Tyler Algier continues to get double-digit touches, and it's a good matchup for the Falcons, Lawrence. I mean, Tyler Algier, it drives us crazy, all of us that have Bijan Robinson, but the Seahawks are a bottom 5 run defense. Algier consistently gets 10 touches a game.
Yeah, you saw what happened against another bottom 5 run defense. Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier were both top 12 running backs last week, so it should be kind of the same today. He's going to get the double-digit touches.
And I'll just say, if you needed someone today, probably like Trey Sermon, but just season-long, Algier and Jaylen Warren, as we move to the next screen here. Jaylen Warren should not be available in that many leagues. He is too good. He's been hurt and everything like that. The addition of Russell Wilson to being the starting quarterback will bring some stability, I think. And they're still going to want to run under Arthur Smith, but it's just not going to be Russ running now. Fields took some of the... Jaylen Warren is going to be a thing over the second half. He should not be available in that many leagues.
Okay, taking a look at wide receivers, and I wasn't able to ask you guys this earlier, but in terms of Juju, hamstring spasms, didn't practice on Thursday. I mean, how much of that is a concern when you're looking at playing him in your team?
Well, the good news is, Brittany, Juju Smith-Schuster never gets hurt, and he's a picture of health. So, no, it is a concern. He hasn't been playing a massive amount of snaps relative to what you'd expect given the huge target share that he gets, but no, it is a concern. And the Niners defense has been up and down, but he's the number one wide receiver on the team, so you suspect Javarius Ward goes to him. So that could be difficult for Juju.
I'll just say, he had a 24% target share in his last game, second highest on the team. They don't want Travis Kelce to play a ton of snaps. They're not getting anything. Xavier Worthy has a very limited route tree right now. I do think Juju, listen, it's never going to be pretty, and I don't think he's going to do 100 yards every week, but he can absolutely run the same routes as Rashee Rice. And so he's out there as well. Romeo Doubs has 3 games with Jordan Love this season. He's averaging over 12 fantasy points per game. You see some of the quarterbacks and tight ends to stream right here. Cardinals are allowing over 19 fantasy points per game to opposing quarterbacks, 4th most in the NFL. Justin Herbert, who looked better last week, I think is a viable streamer this week, as is Andy Dalton against my Commanders, who allow touchdown passes at the 2nd highest rate. One of the guys that in that game on the opposite side, Zach Ertz. Panthers are bottom 10 in terms of most fantasy points allowed to opposing tight ends, and we've talked about Cade Otton before. But by the way, on a points per game basis, he's actually a top 10 fantasy tight end over the past month.
Week 7 desperation plays. I took myself out of this one.
Okay.
Matthew, who'd you go with here?
I went to Xavier Legette. Again, the Commanders are tied for the most touchdowns opposed to opposing wide receivers. Legette. It's been a little bit up and down, but honestly, after Deontay Johnson, he is the main focal point of that passing offense. So Legette's out there in too many leagues. I'm at wide receiver 47. This is, again, you have to be truly desperate, but we think that's going to be a sneaky shootout today in Washington.
And Jay, for you, this one's big. 50 days after being shot, we see Ricky Pearsall in the lineup.
Yeah, he's not eligible to win Comeback Player of the Year as a rookie, but he probably should, given that he got shot in his back playing Ricky Pearsall. I think we forget, Ricky Pearsall was a first-round pick for the Niners, and Juwan Jennings isn't playing today. So, look, I don't think he's going to be playing 80% of the snaps or anything, but I think he is going to be out there, and he's the potential to be wide receiver 3 for the Niners.
Lawrence, who are you looking at?
Yeah, for me, it's Noah Brown on the Commanders. We now know that the Commanders have a legit passing game. Last week, he caught 4 of 8 targets for 54 yards, played on 64% of the snaps. That was easily the second most behind Terry McLaurin. The next best was Olamide Zaccheaus at 39%. So he's the clear wide receiver 2 there. If you think Noah Brown could get 40 yards receiving today like I do, that's plus 130 today.
All right, those desperation plays available in over 80% of the leagues. I know what that sound means right there. Okay, Pro X commenter. Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't do my best commenting on that. All right. Hello, Flex.
Kind of like that. I kind of like that. Like it's like pro X commenter, like because again on X, it's not bad.
Oh, right. You're right. It is X now.
okay.
I still call it Twitter. Okay, gentlemen, what are we doing here with this question?
I think to me it comes down to Leggett or Sermon. We just talked about Leggett a little bit, but I think in terms of guaranteed touches, it's going to be Trey Sermon.
Yeah.
We know that Kenneth Walker is going to play, so Charbonnet is out. We know Aaron Jones is active, so it's not Ty Chandler. To me, it's Trey Sermon based on the volume of touches and a good matchup for the Colts. Again, they're going to be, I think, fairly run heavy today with Richardson under center.
Yep, I agree. I mean, we've got some injury news that has affected this with Aaron Jones expected to play. That hurts Chandler, obviously.
He's officially active.
Ken Walker.
Jones is officially active.
Yep,
Ken
so
Walker
he's
is officially active.
And he's active too to hurt Charbonnet. So I'm with you on Trey Sermon.
Okay, those adjustments. Make sure to tweet in your questions here, #FF Pregame. It can be about fantasy, it can be about matches, it can be about this trio right here. Yep. Tom Hansen, what does Tom Hansen have to say? Okay, need to start 2, full PPR. Brown, Robinson, Downs, Addison. Thanks, love the show.
Thank you, Tom.
There you
Appreciate
go.
you, Tom.
Okay, now give Tom some good info here.
I'm going to go with Chase Brown here. He's clearly taken that job over from Zach Moss. Zach Moss had a bad fumble last week. We didn't see him again. He was on a milk carton. Don't know if he earns his way back into the lineup here. It's a nice matchup. You already said you think the line's too low in that Bengals-Browns game. He's 5.5. You think they're going to kill him by even more. So give me Chase Brown and what should be a positive game script for the Browns. And then also just say Wan'Dale Robinson, who whether Malik Neighbors is in the lineup or not, he continues to get a healthy target share. Like Daniel Jones continues to sort of dump down. Eagles traditionally struggle against the slot. They've struggled against the slot so far this year as well. So Brown and Wan'Dale Robinson for me.
Yeah, I would go with the same too. Wan'Dale Robinson has 2 games with double-digit targets where Malik Neighbors played in the game. So Malik Neighbors coming back doesn't scare you in that regard. So PPR machine Wan'Dale Robinson is.
Yep.
All right, there you go. What do we got next? I think we got one more before prop a shot where I'm going to give my best throw. All right, Brad Kane tweeting out here, flex Eckler, MHJ, or Addison.
Yeah,
That's getting a lot of
I
questions.
get it because Marvin Harrison Jr., he had the concussion, and it's been a little bit up and down with him and my ride or die Kyler Murray, but I'm going with Marvin Harrison Jr. A positive game script. We expect the Commanders to win this game, so it should be more of a Brian Robinson game for Washington as well. And Jordan Addison is just so touchdown dependent. With Jefferson there, I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is the number one option. The other guys aren't, Brad.
Yeah, I'm with you on Marvin Harrison Jr. One thing I will say about Jordan Addison, I'm stealing this from Judah Fort Gang, NFL analyst, very clever man. Detroit play a ton of man coverage. Jordan Addison is excellent at separating against man coverage. So I think this is a specifically good matchup for Addison, but still, he's the number 2 option. Marvin Harrison Jr., the number 1 option.
Yeah.
There you
no
go.
question for me.
Brad, thank you for the question. All right, my question is, though, who's the best quarterback out of the 3 of you? Or is it George, and he's not here
It's Lawrence.
It's usually Lawrence.
I'm going to be honest. This season, it has been like a merry-go-round. It's weekly. Jay had the first 2 weeks,
Yeah. George hasn't been bad.
Last week. George made it last week.
Yeah.
George at least looks like a man who throws the ball with some degree of accuracy.
I don't want y'all to say me in front of Brittany, then I
Please
just
do. My
hit the
expectations are
Maryland
high.
Terps helmet up there.
My Terps, my red hot Terps, baby.
Well, I'm
Let's hear it
Australian,
for my
so I have an
Terps.
excuse.
Standing or sitting?
I stand.
You sit.
Okay.
I'll go first.
For the love of God.
This isn't that bad.
It was at least he hit it.
He hit the board.
I mean,
He hit the board.
There are no
I
bobbleheads
stand
down.
further away. Look how close Jay is.
Okay. Oh.
It's right in the middle there. But a good wide receiver would have come
I
down.
kind of want to go first.
we
I'm a
gonna
little
let
nervous.
Brittany go
I'm
last.
Come
definitely
down
not
with
going to
that.
make it.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm definitely
I was
not
about to
going
say,
to
we
make
just
it.
gonna put the
This
pressure
is
on
going to
you.
be bad.
There you go. That was
Wasn't terrible. Oh, God.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
0 for
for
4.
I think that's the first time we went 0 for 4 here.
And you can blame it on
It
me.
might be the
You
last.
can really blame it on me. All right, time for Profit Shot presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. We're going to go quickly through these. Jay, you're going to start us off, okay?
All right, well, hey, we
There
counting
we
that, man.
go.
I don't care. 1 for 5.
Doesn't count.
20%.
Please stricken that from the record.
No, stop it. Absolutely not.
I mean, okay, nobody's going to believe this, but I made 3
Yeah.
before we even
Yes.
started.
I believe you.
I believe
Thank
it.
you.
I believe
Great.
it.
All right, let's get into it. Jay, James Cook rushing and receiving yards over under 83.5.
Going to go under here. Ray Davis active, which is some news that just came out. And the Titans' run defense with Tavondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons in the middle, I think, will keep James Cook under.
Okay, Lawrence, Joe Mixon rushing attempts over under 15.5.
This number looks crazy, right? Because he didn't have this in his game back last week, 13. But he had 9 of those carries in the first quarter alone. They ended up blowing out the Patriots. They'll need him more today against the Packers, so I'm going over.
All right, over for Lawrence. Matthew, David Montgomery we're looking at here, rushing yards over under 50.5.
I'm going over. Look, he's gone over this number in 3 out of 5 games this season, including last week at Dallas. David Montgomery's running as well as any running back in the NFL, so give me the over 50.5 on David Montgomery today, rushing yards.
All right, Kirk Cousins passing yards. We've been talking a lot about Kirk Cousins, by the way. Over under 266.5.
Going over. The reason why Tariq Woolen not playing. Tariq Woolen's been one of the best corners in the NFL this year. I think Drake London is going to get off the chain. Chain being an operative word with Kirk Cousins, given his fondness for them.
Yeah, sure.
Over.
Patrick Mahomes pass and rushing yards over under 265.5, Lawrence.
I'm actually going to go under. Like I said earlier, he'll play some good football, but he's only hit this number twice. Week 1 versus that Ravens pass defense, which ain't good, and then his last game against the New Orleans Saints, who ain't good in anything right now. So I'm going to go under versus the Niners.
Ooh,
Yeah,
people not
the New Orleans
feeling
Aints.
Mahomes. Matthew, what are we doing with Jaden Daniels here in passing attempts over under 28.5?
I'm taking over. He's gone over this number 3 out of 6 games so far this season, including 2 of the last 3. Panthers have allowed a quarterback to go over that number in 3 straight games. So Jaden Daniels, they want to get back on the right side of things after the tough loss to the Ravens. Give me over 28.5 passing attempts against Carolina.
There we go, Jay. What about Malik Neighbors' receptions over under at 6.5?
Going to go over. I think that the Giants, as 3-point dogs, they will be throwing against an Eagles defense that really hasn't sorted itself out even from last year. Malik Neighbors is off the charts in terms of target share. I think he gets back to that today.
All right, Lawrence, the over-under is 77.5 for Jamar Chase in receiving yards. Which direction do you go?
I ain't got the guts to choose the under on this, so I'm going over. He hit this number 3 of his last 4 games. Just last week, Cleveland allowed long receptions to Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown of 40 and 45 yards. The week before that, Terry McLaurin went for 112 on them, so I got to hit the over on Jamar Chase here.
I like it. Matthew, Brandon Ayuk, longest reception. 22.5 is the over-under.
I'm actually going under. He's gone under this number in 4 out of 6 games so far this season. Chiefs top 5 in terms of fewest receptions allowed this season. Fewest deep receptions, I should say. They're top 5 in terms of fewest deep receptions allowed this season. I think the Chiefs play it tough. Again, they've had 2 weeks to prepare. Give me the under, longest reception, 22.5.
Okay, on his return, we talked about him a lot, Jay. Anthony Richardson pass and rushing yards over under 235.5.
Going to go over. The reason why is that Miami's defense has been very susceptible to deep passes. Likes to throw the ball deep. Anthony Richardson, I think he gets here via a long bomb to Alec Pierce.
Amari Cooper on his Bills debut. Lawrence, receiving yards, 36.5 for the over-under.
This number is this low because of the snap count. He may not know the offense all the way, but it actually went up from 34.5. Look, all I got to say is this. He done hit this number in 4 straight games with Deshaun Watson. So now he got Josh Allen. He going over.
Last but surely not least, Matthew, Devontae Adams, Jets debut, back with his man Aaron Rodgers. What do we make of receiving yards over under 53.5?
Taking the over. He's gone over this number in 2 of the 3 games he played this season, right? He hasn't played since week 3. But like when he was playing with a much worse quarterback, he went over this number in 2 out of the 3 games he played. Steelers have allowed multiple wide receivers to go over this number in 2 of their past 3. So you could see Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams go over this. Again, I think the Jets season's on the line. They're 2-4. They must win. Yeah. They must win
Big one.
tonight. So I think they pull out all the tricks. I think they win tonight, and I think Devontae Adams is one of the reasons why.
All right. Don't forget, you can get involved. DraftKings Sportsbook is the #1 place to bet touchdowns, and new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. So download the app and use the promo code Barry when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. I was wondering if you were going to do that with me here. I wasn't sure. Oh, saying a quick hello to the fans is Tirico Hill, and you said you got to start him. Got to start him, right? You got to
like
start
a guy
him.
that's going to get over 57.5 yards.
He's catching it by his
That's exactly how he going to catch his touchdown pass
over
today, too.
57.5. Please, stop it. It's easy.
That was a beautiful catch. Yes. All right, we'll be back. On the other side, we'll talk rankings. A new chapter for the Aaron Rodgers-led Jets begin tonight as they take on TJ Watt and the Steelers in Pittsburgh. Coverage starts at 7 Eastern, only on NBC and Peacock. So that's later. Coming up in about an hour or so, the Packers taking on the Texans, and arriving looking fly is their QB, Jordan Love.
Let's go.
He's kind of understated, classy. I like this. I mean, we've seen a variety of
I like the Jordan
attires.
Love aesthetic.
Yeah, I like
Matthew's
it.
very against it for some reason, but
Why?
I'm pro Jordan Love aesthetic.
I feel like the colors he's wearing is very much close to what you're wearing today.
Understated classy is what I'm often described as all the time, constantly. You should see the group chat.
All right, let's dive into these quarterback rankings, top 10. Who would you zero in on here, Matthew?
How about Kirk Cousins at home against Seattle? You were just telling me your fiance picked him up. I think he's
Thank
going to be
God.
happy.
Needed it.
Falcons, second highest implied team total this week. Each of the last three quarterbacks to face the Seahawks have scored at least 22 fantasy points. That includes Daniel Jones. And so the Seahawks, who allow a league-high 10 yards per pass attempt over the last three games, is a tasty matchup for young Kirk.
Ooh, delicious. What about Brock Purdy
Tasty.
sitting ninth
Tasty.
on his top 10 list.
Yeah, love Lawrence's man, Brock Purdy, who is changing the way he's playing this year. Last year, he had a ton of yak generated by his receivers. This year, no yak at all, basically, until Deebo Samuel took that one to the house on Thursday Night Football against the Seahawks. But this is a big day for Brock Purdy. Super Bowl rematch.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy, I think, got a pass grade in the Super Bowl, though he wasn't amazing. Spagnuolo's defense, I think, did give him some trouble. So, yeah, this is a legacy. If Brock Purdy wins this game, he's going to be close to the MVP favorite.
I feel like we got to give Lawrence a chance to talk about that. I know we got 11 through 20
So,
up here, but I saw the
you know
smirk
what,
that
I
turned
take that
into
back.
a
Lamar is
smile.
still the favorite, even if Brock Purdy wins. Brock Purdy might be second.
she was just talking about when you said your boy Brock
yeah,
Purdy.
yeah.
He's your man. Who stakes your name to Brock.
He is though, because I will always love Brock Purdy for how he gave Lamar that MVP last year late in the season.
Fair.
All right, 11 through 20 now. What about Geno Smith? Seahawks taking on the Falcons, leads the league in passing attempts and yards.
Yeah, for sure. Falcons have allowed at least 2 passing touchdowns in 3 of their past 4 games as well. Geno's playing well, and they pass a ton in this game, obviously. We like the Falcons at home, so Geno's going to have to throw to keep up as well. I'm at QB 12. Geno very quietly has been an above-average fantasy quarterback this year.
Yeah, just a ton of volume.
Yeah.
Okay, what about Justin Herbert?
Well, very quietly, Justin Herbert is quarterback 31 in fantasy points per game. Hasn't had one game as a top.
Has it been that quiet? Has it? I don't think it's been that
I
quiet.
don't think folks talking about that.
Well, they're winning. is the
No,
thing.
that's
Fair.
why. No,
So
It's
quiet
rare.
at silence.
no games over 15 fantasy points. Not one time has he finished as a top 20 quarterback this season. But Arizona Cardinals allowed the 4th most fantasy points per game to quarterbacks. They've allowed multiple touchdowns to quarterbacks in 3 of the past 4 games. So I think Justin Herbert is a nice. If you lost Justin Fields or something, who's a top 10 quarterback in fantasy, Justin Herbert for this week could be a nice little substitution for that.
Yeah, little Justin for Justin action.
Yeah.
It started with the negative, ended with the positive.
Yeah,
I was
that's
waiting
how we
for
like to
which
do.
direction
Right.
is this going.
That's how we like to do.
Our direction is going towards the running backs. Let's take a look at the top 10 in your rankings here, Matthew. And who would you kind of zero in terms of the running backs?
Well, you already heard me do my shot for J.K. Dobbins, so we'll just talk about him. 27 touches last week, his first game since Gus Edwards went on IR. Arizona allows the 2nd most rushing yards per game to opposing running backs. In fact, teams that face the Cardinals average almost 27 running back carries a game. That's 4th most in the NFL. So J.K. Dobbins is going to get a massive workload. You already heard my shot that he's a top 5 play today. He comes in at running back 8 for me in my ranks, but I think he has a chance at exceeding that on Monday night.
27 touches week 6? Did I read
Yes.
that right? 27 touches in
A
week 6.
lot of touches.
All right, I love that my man Tony Pollard's on there, number 7. But what about Brian Robinson?
Brian Robinson, not much to say here. He's had a great season so far. Now
Lots to say here. Go ahead, talk him up.
Yeah.
Well, you know
Do
what
we
I
have
will,
time,
because
Producer
Carolina
Steven?
Panthers allow the most fantasy points per game, 2 running backs. They allow 133 rush yards per game, 2 running backs as well. While Washington is, they're 9.5-point favorites, so you know they're gonna have to run. They were so bad last week that both Bijan and Tyler Algier were both running back 1s last week. So Brian Robinson, he might actually outplay this number 9
Yeah.
ranking you got him here, Matthew. So we like him a lot this week.
Yeah, he's definitely getting in the end zone too as well. I bet you anything.
Okay, we look a little deeper into the
Well, maybe not
rankings
anything.
here.
Minus 20,000.
Yeah.
Brian Robinson.
Yeah.
Anytime soon.
I'm hoping Kareem Hunt does a little bit better than your 19 ranking here when all is said and done when we talk about our parlay later. But what do you anticipate?
Yeah, well, look, he's clearly gotten the job. Now, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to be active in this game, but how much work is he going to go? Seems like it's definitely Kareem Hunt. Since in the 2 games since he returned, he's gotten 76% of the Chiefs' running back touches, including 6 of their 7 red zone touches as well. Again, they're off the bye. They've had another week to get Kareem Hunt back up to speed. Running backs that have seen at least 15 touches, one of the reasons I mentioned how much work he's been getting. Running backs who see at least 15 touches against the Niners, averaging 18.6 fantasy points per game. And so in a tough matchup against San Francisco, he's a top 20 play for me this week.
I like it. Again, one of the best matchups of the weekend.
Yep.
Coming up a little bit later. Jay, I know you were zeroing in on Joe Mixon. Ooh, what do I do? Do I go you two first, you first?
Let's go to Jake.
You're a host.
Okay,
You
Jake.
choose. Dealer's choice.
Can only pick one, Garrett Wilson, Aaron Jones, or Dobbins. What do you do?
I think it's Dobby.
I think it is Dobby as well. Jake, here's the other thing I'll tell you. I don't think you can screw this up because I really like all these guys, but I think it is Dobbins given the matchup against Arizona. Jones' first game off the injury, and I think he'll get a healthy workload here, but it's playing Detroit. Detroit's been really good against the run so far. We like Garrett Wilson, of course. I've told you I'm going to start him, but I'm as a wide receiver too. We don't know how many looks Devontae Adams is going to get, so I think it's Dobby. I agree with Jay
He
here.
had 25 carries last week. The first few weeks was kind of like him breaking long runs and stuff, but last week 25 carries, 96 yards and a touchdown. Now we're seeing him actually get the volume now.
Yep.
Massive volume and a great matchup.
Yep, Gus Edwards on IR, so really somewhat unopposed in that backfield, given the scared of Kamani Vidal.
All right, we got a little bit more from Aaron Ortiz via YouTube. Devontae Smith or Brian Robinson, PPR? Talked a little bit about Robinson earlier.
I mean, you heard my guy Lawrence talk up Brian Robinson. Yeah, come on. Who's got the better? Again, Aaron, I don't think you can screw it up because I think both guys have good games, but Brian Robinson easily got the better shot at a touchdown today.
Yeah, agreement?
Agreed.
All across the board. All right, let's get back to the running backs, 11 through 20, and Joe Mixon.
Yeah, Joe Mixon is an interesting one because I think after week 1, where he had that huge game against the Colts, went for over 150 rushing yards, multiple touchdowns, you would have thought that he would be, a top 5 running back, really, the rest of the way. And I think because of the injury, he's kind of been a bit out of sight, out of mind. He just had the 13 carries last week, but I think that he can, now it's not an amazing matchup because they're 3-point dogs against the Packers, but Joe Mixon, in this scheme, the thing about Joe Mixon, he's always been better as a zone rusher, and that's what they do in Houston with that zone scheme from Slowick. So I think that Joe Mixon, he's going to be an elite option the rest of the way. Just might be one more week to come.
Okay, let's look at even deeper into those running back rankings, 21 through 30. So in terms of looking a little bit deeper in the rankings that we've got here for week 7 for you, Matthew, who do you want to zero in on?
How about Austin Eckler? Again, we just talked about Brian Robinson, but every single game Eckler's played this year, he's had at least 10 fantasy points. He's averaging 74 yards from scrimmage per game, and the Panthers have allowed touchdowns to multiple running backs in 4 of their 6 games. As you heard Lawrence mention last week, Bijan and Algier get in the end zone. I think there's a decent chance that Robinson and proud fantasy life investor Austin Eckler get into the end zone this week. He's my running back 26.
Oh, there we go. Okay, Lawrence, what about Najee Harris? We were talking a lot about the Steelers-Jets earlier.
Yeah.
What are your expectations with him?
Shout out to Najee Harris, running back 10 last week in fantasy. Now, the Jets allowed a 10th fewest fantasy points per game, 2 running backs, but they still allow over 100 yards to the position. But it's kind of, when we're talking football, it's week to week, and it's what have you done for me lately? And lately, the Jets were getting run all over by Ray Davis last week. Bills running backs went 24 carries for 131 yards. Holes were just wide ass open. So look, can Najee keep that going? Like, they're going to need him. He'll get more opportunities, maybe even in the receiving game too, with Russell Wilson at quarterback.
Okay. Just Eric. He's just Eric here. All right, now what do we got from Just Eric for the full PPR flex? What direction would we go?
I'm going to go with Devon Achane here. We like Hunt, we like Wan'Dale Robinson, but Devon Achane, just in terms of both the volume, the matchup, and his talent. I mean, Achane is somebody that legitimately has 200-yard upside, and we think off of the bye guys that his experience here, that the 2 weeks that McDaniels had to prepare, like their run game seemed to get going on the last game that we saw before the bye. So I feel better about Achane from a talent and workload perspective than any of the others guys, and matchup, I should say.
Trio in agreement, Jay?
Yeah.
Devon Achane. Yep.
Okay.
That's
All right, moving on. Wide receiver rankings. We'll start obviously with our top 10 here. Matthew, Deontay Johnson, Panthers versus Commanders. How do you like that matchup in the wide receiver
he's questionable, but he's expected to play. Since Andy Dalton has been starting, he's had at least 19 fantasy points in 3 of the 4 games with Dalton under center. He's averaging over 18 points per game. 29% target share for the Red Rifle. And wide receivers that have gotten at least 7 targets against my Commanders are averaging over 19 fantasy points per game. Lawrence mentioned it. They're almost 10-point underdogs in this one. We expect the Panthers to have to throw, and when they're throwing, they're going to be throwing to Deontay Johnson, who comes in at wide receiver 7 for me.
Okay, Jay, Jamar Chase sitting 4th on Matthew's rankings there.
Yeah, I might be the only man in America with this opinion, but I'm a little worried about Jamar Chase.
Lay it out there.
Yeah, a little scared for Jamar Chase. Why isn't he getting targets? He's had more than 7 targets in 1 game this season. T. Higgins has been gobbling up targets since he came back. Also, there's some weird underlying stuff with Jamar Chase where you look at the past couple of years, his ability to separate against man coverage has declined. Like, he's not getting open as much as he did, and he's not getting targeted as much as he has. So, look, it's still Jamar Chase. Certainly looks plenty explosive with the touchdown touchdowns that he scored against Baltimore a couple of weeks ago, but just a little bit to be concerned about. I don't know why he's not getting more targets.
Concerned enough, you said?
No.
Okay.
No.
Let's look a little deeper. 11 through 20. Zay Flowers, Ravens, Bucks. Matthew, what do we do here?
We're starting him. We're starting him happily. We're starting him giddily. We're starting him with light in our eyes and and sunshine in our toes. Look, he's had just go with it. He's had at least 9 targets. There's been 4 competitive games, right? There's been 4 games in which the Ravens have basically been competitive, right? Where it's been close back and forth. And in those games, he has at least 9 targets in all of them, a 30% target share as well. Wide receivers that have seen at least 8 targets against the Buccaneers, which is why I mentioned the 9 targets. Wide receivers seen at least 8 targets against the Buccaneers, averaging 18.7 fantasy points per game. We've talked about it. Like that Buck secondary banged up. Like that's where they attack. Lamar's playing at an MVP level. Give me the Zay Flowers. I'm at wide receiver 14. I might be too low on him.
With sunshine on the toes.
Yeah.
Is that what you're going to do, Lawrence, with Amon-Ra St. Brown?
Well, there's going to be some sun
Tickled
for
pink.
the sun guy. Look, only 1 game over 75 receiving yards this season. Ouch. But he scored in 3 straight games. Last game, they literally forced him a touchdown when they was already blowing out the Cowboys, right? Then you look at the fact that he plays in the slot. Jaden Reed in week 4, wide receiver 2 against the Vikings from the slot. Tank Dell in week 3, before he even got going, had an okay day with 5 catches for 62 yards. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I'll take him over both of those guys, so feel good about him today.
All right, B. Sanford's in a pickle. Need some help. Need to start 2. Higgins, Flowers, Johnson, McLaren, or Smith?
You just start
2, not or. 2.
I think it's
Johnson. Deontay.
I mean, I don't think you can screw this up, but I think it's Deontay Johnson and Terry McLaurin. We expect. I mean, again, he must be like an 8-team league, Lawrence, like or something like that. Like that's that's an unbelievable wide receiver crew. I'm gonna go with McLaurin and Deontay Johnson. McLaurin scored in 4 straight with Jaden Daniels. Deontay Johnson we just talked up as well. We expect a lot of scoring back and forth in that game. I could see Higgins, again, I like Flowers a lot too, but I'm going with Johnson and McLaurin, but it's close there. Higgins I have at 14, but the other 2 guys I have slightly higher. But you could see Higgins just sort of getting schemed out because they're up big against the Browns. So anyway, McLaurin and Johnson are our picks.
All right, Swervin. 1115 via YouTube. Pick 2. Okay, so we got that again, but let's choice this. Full PPR, Mason Waddle, McConkey, or Juju?
I'm gonna go with Jordan Mason, just again volume of touches, and I'm gonna go with Ladd McConkey. We don't expect QJ to play in this game. No Quentin Johnson as well. Jalen Waddle hasn't been great since Tua went out. He was inconsistent with Tua in there. So McConkey was getting almost like a 30% target share in a good matchup against the Cardinals. We just talked up Justin Herbert as well. So give me McConkey. I do think Juju has a decent game today, but I also don't feel super confident in that. It's
incredible. Jalen Waddle might be 4th in that.
Right.
That's what shows you where we're at the moment. I mean, Jalen Waddle's receiving over/under set of 42.5. He's not expected to do that much. I would take the over on that, but still, it's not like he's going to have a massive day, at least as a median outcome. So I don't think it's crazy at all to take Ladd McConkey in a favorable matchup as the number 1 wide receiver for Justin Herbert.
I'm just thinking about how they just gave Tank Bigsby another touchdown, and Denny has him in the league of assholes while I have Dearness Johnson. I was cool with the 1 touchdown.
Right.
I could have survived.
I can survive that.
This when they're already winning. Come on, man.
Yeah,
That's why your back's to it.
Man, yeah.
But I'll tell you, 32-16, Jags.
I just want you to know.
Versus Denny team now. Denny team in 12th place or something.
I know. I want to be honest with you, Lawrence. In a matchup with you, normally I don't root for you, but against Denny, I'm rooting for you. I'm absolutely rooting for you against Denny.
Good. I'm glad, man.
Denny's
you got
not
my
making it
support.
appears today.
You got my support.
How dare he?
Yeah.
Okay, gentlemen, where do we go here? From Peter Lou.
Peter Lou. By the way, I love all these YouTube questions, by the way. Just a reason to continually watch on YouTube. We prioritize YouTube questions. Devontae Adams, Juju, Downs, or Mostert?
Devontae.
I think it's got to be Devontae.
Adams. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Devontae.
Adams. Again.
You're all expecting a big showing from him.
He could do nothing.
He could do absolutely
Based
nothing.
off of this,
I just think
just to spite you all.
Aaron Rodgers is one of the most stubborn, petty people on the planet. And I say that as a compliment. Just he is going to, like he is somebody that will make a point of trying to get him a touchdown.
I would say that as a negative, but agree with your final point.
Yeah.
That he will get it to Devontae
As it
Adams.
relates to our world of fantasy football and sports betting and trying to predict things, I like the fact that I can count on how Rodgers will attack a certain situation.
Sure.
Oh, by the way, Devontae Adams is also like really good.
Yeah,
like for
there's
all the
that
narrative,
part. There's that part.
Like he's all due respect to like Juju's like having a little bit of a resurgence and Josh Downs, and we like Josh Downs, but I mean, come on.
I will say as well, like the idea of new receiver comes to a team and it's his first week, doesn't know the playbook. Well, apparently they're just running the Aaron Rodgers offense anyway, and he's got
Correct.
this telepathic
Well,
connection with
Rodgers
Devontae
was gonna
Adams.
say, right?
Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, they got to look with each other.
Yes.
They know what they've been doing that for years,
Ro-
so that never went away.
Rodgers is somebody that, like, again, you watch him at the line of scrimmage, but Rodgers will do a look, he'll do a little this, he'll do this. He'll like, no, he does.
They got
No,
their own
seriously,
sign language.
He really does.
Yeah.
He does. They have a bunch of different like.
In tune.
He's talked about that.
Yeah,
Rodgers has
I
talked
trust
about
it.
interviews and that there's a bunch of hand signals that goes on. So yeah, Adams is the choice.
My favorite part of the whole Devontae Adams have been the memes coming out that as soon as he got the call to fly to New York, injury away. Totally fine.
You know, I do that sometimes. Sometimes when your quarterback upgrades, your hamstring gets upgraded too.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's like how Kaiser Sose, the limp goes away at the end of Usual Suspects to ruin that film for all you guys.
1,000%. There've been times where like, hey,
The movie came out in
Okay,
1995.
I have to say though, your opinion on movies are not great. Big Daddy?
Thank you very much. Thank you,
I
Brittany.
want-
Finally, somebody with
sorry.
taste on the table here. Thank you, Brittany. It's about time.
Big Daddy's like a
Come
top
on,
10
Scuba
Adam
Steve.
Sandler
Yeah,
movie.
check the,
Yes,
you gotta check
thank
the
you.
Rotten Tomatoes rating on Big Daddy.
Frankenstein. Okay, anyways, let's get back to
Awful. It's awful. I
the
just,
wide receivers,
but it's very
21
similar.
through
There
30.
have been times where like I'm like
Big Daddy's 39% on the tomato meter. What are we talking about?
can't
Saving?
always
We're talking about saving Private
That's
Ryan.
just the internet, Jay.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, that's fine.
Lad McConkey, let's give him some more love here, right?
Yeah, 100%. We just talked about him as well. He's my wide receiver 27. Every game this year except for one, he has led the Chargers in targets. He's got a 27% target share on the season. Oh, by the way, the Cardinals, they allow the second highest catch rate to wide receivers, and they gave up 3 touchdowns to the slot last week, which is obviously where McConkey runs the most of his routes. He's a top 30 play for me this week.
All right, Jay, who are you looking at?
Darnell Mooney, who is wide receiver 26 in Matthews' rankings, wide receiver 19 on the season. I like now that we're into week 7, now it's like this is becoming real. Like if you've done something for 7 weeks, then you probably just have to accept that that's what it's going to be. And Darnell Mooney is the number 2 option in a somewhat explosive offense that gets to play in a dome. They got a favorable matchup against the Seattle defense that is banged up and struggling. So Darnell Mooney can be started with confidence, I think, as a kind of mid to low end wide receiver 2.
Consistency is key. I was a little surprised that Juju's so low on the rankings, just considering how much time we've been
said his name a
spent,
lot.
yeah, talking about him. 31 through 40 in terms of Matthews' rankings here. Chiefs versus 49ers. Again, we've talked a lot about that. What do we make of Juju?
Look, last week he had a 23.5% target share. It's worth noting the Niners do give up the 4th most yards to the slot, so it's a good matchup here. Again, he's had another week to get back into the groove here and to rest his whatever cartilage he uses that he calls a kneecap. He doesn't. There's not much going on there. It's a bunch of
Shots
jello in
fired
there.
at Juju's
Nah,
kneecap.
Juju's
Making
gonna
my
play.
knee hurt.
Juju's
thinking
gonna
about
play.
it.
Friend of the show, Juju.
Oh, that's right. You're
Shout out to Juju, baby.
Yeah.
Let's go. 2 straight 100-yard games.
Yeah.
Incoming now with the knee and the hand.
Juju is in that player X with you, right?
Proud, how do you say it? Proud player, ex-investor, Juju Smith-Schuster.
There you go.
Salute.
We can't offend Juju. It's like offending Brock Purdy near me.
Yeah.
I tallied how many
He's my
times we
business
say
partner.
Juju today.
Yeah, a lot of Juju.
Over under on the time we talk about Juju.
I'm starting Juju in, sadly, way too many leagues. I need Juju. Anyway, I'm at wide receiver
Juju.
31, so I think he's a legit wide receiver 3 in a game that I believe the Chiefs win, or at least cover the 1.5.
Happy Gilmore.
Happy
Thank you,
Gilmore
Ben.
is number 1, right? I mean, Happy Gilmore cannot
I
be
think he
any
means
lower
legit
than
top
that.
10 movie overall, but I
Yeah.
100% agree.
Of like all time among all movies or among
Oh,
Sandler movies?
Adam
Because
Sandler,
Sandler movies certainly it's top 10.
Some would
Yeah,
argue
But it's
top
not
10 all
like-
around.
Yeah, I don't know, Shawshank Redemption, Pulp Fiction, The Godfather. Like we can get to 10 pretty quickly.
Some dark movies. Some
Wars.
very dark movies. Okay, Wandale or Whittington?
I
Sherman
got to
Wandale or
answer this
Whittington?
question.
Sermon.
I'm going to say Wandale
Wandale,
Robinson for me. I'm nervous about Trey Sermon has been really volume dependent. He
He's
hasn't
not
run.
good.
He's not that good. He had a bad game. His last game. The first game that he had a big game, but it was all BS.
He had six catches for 20-something
exactly.
yards.
It was all like PPR scamming, and so like Wan'Dale Robinson's actually legit good. So I'm going to say Wan'Dale Robinson. I'm nervous that Goodson that it's kind of a 50-50 split, and also to your point with no flat with Richardson there. With they getting close, it could be Richardson taking the goal line carries, not Sermon. With Flacco there, you felt pretty good that Sermon had a chance to fall into the end zone, but. I'm going to go Wan'Dale Robinson.
I'm hoping this Goodson gets
I'm going to go Wan'Dale Robinson.
Yeah, I like
There you
that
go.
answer.
Little Shooter McGavin for you.
Oh,
just because,
no.
Well,
Here we go.
he did Happy Gilmore. So that was, that was.
Shooter
great.
McGavin, yes, which they're having a
Paul
second
is
one.
on your neck.
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
not feeling Paul here. Yes, bro, his opinion on Big Daddy has been low-key bothering me. Oh, I thought he was going to be in favor of you.
No.
Thank you, Paul.
That's fine.
Appreciate that.
Talk to the
By the way,
tomato meter. To be fair, I've not seen that film in like 15 years, so I will not be held ironclad to my opinion, but my gut feel is that it
I
was
don't
a great
Stands
movie.
the test
I'll
of time.
argue. I'll argue that Big Daddy's not even one of Sandler's best. I don't think it's a top 5 Sandler movie.
Yeah, I would
Top
agree.
10 Sadler movie.
I mean, he's only made like 12. I mean, I don't know how many he's
made
made.
lots.
He made.
Yeah, I'd say it's like if you're putting Happy Gilmore at the top and like Little Nicky is down the bottom, it's
Yeah,
like in the middle.
somewhere
right?
in the middle.
It's not
It's
a great
fine.
movie, I don't think.
Wedding
but I
Singer.
can't. Yeah.
Wedding Singer is awesome. Just Go With It is actually really fun.
Yes.
That's
is a goodie.
It's a fun one.
about
That one's a
Billy
really fun
Madison?
one.
Yeah,
Come on.
thank
I
you.
mean, obviously.
We could go on and on.
By the way,
And his serious
I'm gonna look
movies,
up.
too. He's got a few of those.
Punch
Paul,
Drunk
by the way,
Love is a
talking
quietly great
talking
movie.
like my 12-year-old daughter. By the way, that's how my daughters talk. Is like they call me. My daughters will be like, bro, I am. You're low key being annoying, Dad, or like, Dad, you're low key being cringy or whatever. Like a lot of bro, a lot of low key. Anyway,
Bring it
but
into our
thank you,
vernacular.
Paul.
Gen Z.
Very Gen Z.
Sandler's made a lot of bad movies. There's some
looking
good
for-
ones
Are you
too.
referring to
Bad
IMDb?
ones to make the good ones.
Yeah.
All right, back at it,
Okay,
Lawrence.
Waterboy.
Jordan Addison.
Waterboy's amazing.
No, I
Stop
like
it.
Water- I didn't-
Waterboy is
it's
better than
like-
Big Daddy, and I
Yeah,
will die.
I
I
agree
will
with
die
that.
on that hill.
Oh, I'm with you on Waterboy.
Yeah, I
Come
like
on.
Waterboy.
Big
You don't like
Daddy.
Waterboy?
No.
I think I like
You
Waterboy.
can do it.
Yeah.
Come on.
That one might be like actually some type of classic or
Seen
something.
this movie- I've seen these movies in 20 years. It's hard to
Waterboy's
remember.
great.
Jordan Addison.
Sure,
So,
talk about that.
Yeah, I'll talk about Jordan Addison. If you going for the gusto, you should probably play him in a game that's 50.5. Look, he is touchdown dependent, but he does have a 19% target share, which isn't high, but it's decent when the other guy is Justin Jefferson. Detroit allows the 6th most fantasy points per game to wide receivers. So just if you got a flex spot, I saw a question here earlier about Jordan Addison where we didn't pick him, but there could be some situations where you have to start him. Again, it's a high over-under where it could go under actually, but still be a decent amount of scoring going on in this game.
I agree.
You were looking them all up.
Yeah, I was looking at it.
He
There's
went
just
on a
like there's
deep
just a lot
dive.
going on. You just forget like, oh yeah, Adam Sandler was in Click, which I like, yeah, I watched in the cinema in like 2006
So
or whatever.
Click
like,
wasn't
not great.
great.
No, it's not great.
Click was
It's
not
the
great.
serious movies are actually good. Punch Drunk Love, Rain Over Me, they're good. but
Mr.
then-
Deeds also great. Tight ends. We were
I
talking
don't know
a lot.
about that one.
I
Mr.
actually don't
D?
mind Mr.
Mr. Deeds
Deeds.
is good.
strangely.
Top 10 tight end rankings. You were mentioning the bar
I liked
was low.
Hustle. I like the Netflix
like
movie.
Hustle's great.
That was a
Yeah.
great one. That
And
Hustle.
so I was just about to say I like that one, but then I couldn't name it. I was about to say
Right.
I like that one
Oh.
with
The NBA
Anthony
player,
Edwards.
right.
Yeah,
The
you
I
know,
NBA
randomly lived in a building with Juancho Hernan-Gomez for a while, so yeah. Anyway, we will talk about tight ends.
I was told
Maybe.
to live in the chaos on this show, and I'm loving every minute of it. All right, Brock Bowers.
Yeah, he's my number one tight end. I think he's the number one tight end for the rest of the season. Last 2 weeks, he's had a 30% target share. He's averaging 11 targets per game. In the 4 games in when he's had at least a 20% target share, he's averaging over 17 fantasy points per game. Great matchup with the Rams as they allow the 2nd most fantasy points to opposing tight ends. And by the way, we know Devontae Adams is playing for the Jets. We don't think Jacoby Myers is going to play for the Raiders. So it is really in a negative game script. It should be the Brock Bowers show against Sean McVay and the Rams.
Jay, who stands out for you?
Dalton Kincaid, Matthews tight end 7. Strange season vibes for Dalton Kincaid at the moment. The whole idea of him was that he was going to be the number 1 option for Josh Allen. Now Amari Cooper is in there. Kincaid didn't really make the most of those first 6 weeks, even though we love Dalton Kincaid. Dalton Kincaid came on our show and told us how he got beaten up by a kangaroo in Australia. But it just hasn't really happened for him this season. So I think he's just going to be this guy who floats around tight end 5 to 9 each week, and you start him every week, but you're kind of just expecting like 5 for 57 or whatever.
11 through 20. What do we do?
Well, I'm looking at Dalton Schultz, which is, sad. But you know what? There's reason for optimism with Dalton Schultz, right? Obviously, no Nico Collins here. It's a nice matchup with the Green Bay as the Packers allow the third most fantasy points to opposing tight ends. And without Nico Collins last week, he actually had a 25.8% target share. That was a season high for Dalton Schultz. So given the increased volume with Nico out and the matchup here, I do think he's a viable tight end 2 streamer this week.
All right, Lawrence, round us out on the tight ends here.
Yeah, we saw a question earlier that had Mark Andrews in it. Now, while we're happy he had 66 yards for a touchdown last week, he still only played in 50% of the snaps last week compared to Isaiah Likely's 68% of the snaps. Oh, they're also using the third tight end and Charlie Kohler. So we got to see Mark Andrews play more and be in the game more before we feel confident about starting him again.
I like it. All right, we've got about 30 minutes until kickoff warm-ups underway. About that action, Houston Texans tweeting out, yes, that is CJ Stroud. We showed you Jordan Love earlier walking in, getting prepped and ready to face off against the Packers. All right, when we come back, it's a little beer goggles, so trust me, stick around.
I like that footwork.
Wow, take a look at those pants. All right, DK Metcalf showing up in style? Question
Yeah,
mark?
I mean, he's no David Njoku, but that's pretty solid.
I wonder why it's only on the front, though. Would
I
make it
was about to say,
uncomfortable to
I'll
sit
wear
if it
them.
was on the back, too?
I'll wear them on here,
Yeah.
but it had to be all the way around, though. I don't know why it's jeans in the back
That's
and
a
party
big
in the front.
suitcase.
He's a big man.
I understand, but
It's just his helmet in that suitcase.
that might be.
I like it, though. All right, can't wait to see what
Fair
you guys
enough.
all walk in
Anyway,
with next
DK's
week.
going for 102 touchdowns.
It is time for some beer goggles. I love this.
Why don't we have our entrances?
You should.
When Lawrence walks into NBC Sports and what he's wearing, all decked out, and I show up looking like a homeless beggar,
Yeah.
yeah.
Your discount kind of roll tide hoodie.
Yeah, exactly.
I gotta say, I saw Lawrence right when he walked in, and he looks
got it.
exactly
Lawrence
like
looks
it.
We
Yeah,
don't be
yeah.
having.
Ready to go.
Do we need suitcases too? Thank you, by the way.
No problem.
I have a shoulder bag. I have like a
We
duffel
can
bag.
set that up. We should set that up.
Yeah.
Only
it
if
might
you have
require me getting
pants
up
like
earlier.
DK just
I
had.
don't like doing that.
All right, let's dive
you
into
guys
this.
should show up
Beer
for that.
goggles. You're familiar. You know what this is. On a scale of 1 to 5 beers, what would it take for you to start these players. So we'll start with the Seahawks-Falcons matchup.
Well, it's like because when you've been in a bar, Brittany,
Yes.
like you remember like when you and your girlfriends go out, like how drunk would you have to be
to
entertain,
talk to that man,
talk to that guy? For us, it's the same thing, right? Exactly. So.
start this
I like to.
guy.
I always like
start
to.
this guy.
I always like to explain the segment.
Yeah.
That's one of our traditions here.
I like it.
We're 3 years in.
Year 3.
3 years in.
So let's find out how many beers it's going to take for you, Matthew, to
Yes.
start. Darnell Mooney.
Only 2 beers here. You know, like I want a little bit of a buzz going because he's been under 10 fantasy points in 2 of his past 3, so I need to be feeling a little bit. But it's worth noting that in the 3 games where he's seen at least a 20% target share, he has 14 points. And over the last month, Seattle bottom 12 in terms of most fantasy points allowed to opposing wide receivers. We expect this to be a shootout. You know, we like Kirk Cousins here. Detective Drake London, friend of the show, he's going to go off. But I do think Darnell Mooney is a top 30 play today. He's wide receiver 26 for me. So I need like 2 beers. I need 2 beers to
with that.
If I got involved, I need like half and then 1.5. That would kind of be my scale.
Right.
Jackson Smith-Njigba. How many beers do we need?
3 beers. Brittany Jason, he's hurt me this year. He's hurt my bank account. So kind of hurt my feelings. Because I keep on expecting.
You know what?
That
He helped
goes
you
hand
beat
in
me by
hand, Jake.
0.14 points
That's
in the
true.
league of assholes.
He did that. Yeah. I think of that as a Tyler Lockett phenomenon more than JSN. But
you didn't say 5 beers.
Yeah, no, I didn't. Like he's still out there. He's like playing every snap. He's in the slot. He's good in theory.
Yeah.
He just doesn't. He's not having these big, massive games
he's
that I keep
not.
expecting. He's
I'm
just
aware.
He keeps on going like 6 for 53, and it's like I just want more from JSN. But I think he's still a viable flex guy.
Okay. 3 beers. Jackson. Tyler Lockett.
This is another viable flex. I'll take 2 beers here. At least 8 targets in 3 of the last 4 games. 3 straight games with at least 60 receiving yards, which is similar numbers that you just said for Njigba. But for Tyler Lockett, like we'll take that. You guys mentioned earlier the Seahawks will have to throw, so just 2 beers to start Tyler Lockett.
All right, so everybody's living kind of in that buzzed range here for Seahawks Falcons. All right, turning our attention to Cincinnati Bengals at Cleveland Browns. Chase Brown.
Yeah, Chase Brown, just 1 beer. I'm feeling good. I'm throwing Chase Brown right out there. I'm like halfway through the beer, and I'm like, start him. Over the last 3 weeks, he's been the 7th best running back in fantasy, right? At least 14 fantasy points in all 3 games. He's actually out-touched Zach Moss 27-19 over the past 2 games. 62% of the snaps last week. And remember, Zach Moss had that bad fumble, and we did not see him again. Maybe if they get up big, as you expect, Jay, in the second half, maybe you see a little bit of Moss. But on the way to that victory, Chase Brown's going to have a lot. I'm at running back 21 here. I think he's a starter. 1 beer for me.
All right, Uno Cerveza. Zach Moss. How many beers?
So 3 beers, as you mentioned, Matthew. I do think that the Bengals will be up big in the second half. So Zach Moss, good chance at getting in the end zone, but he's clearly now behind Brown in the pecking order. And any RB2 on their own team can kind of max out. Like I think 3 beers is about as generous as I can get for Zach Moss.
Okay. Lawrence, what are we doing with Jerry Jeudy?
I would say 3 beers. Probably if I would be like you, I would need half. So I'd probably say 3.5. But I'll go 3 beers because here's
3 and then some.
Here's some good things. He the wide receiver 1 in Cleveland. I don't know what that means, but that's what he is. Cincinnati has also allowed a wide receiver to score in 4 of their past 5 games. Their defensive backfield is not good, so there's a chance Jeudy could get one of them fluky touchdowns like he had earlier in the season. So 3 beers on Jeudy.
I like it.
What's with the half beer stuff? Like, do you order like half a drink?
No. But my thought was, if we're going 1 to 5 beers, I'll be under the table with 5 beers, so not like that I wouldn't even be able to play anybody.
Yeah, it's fair.
So I was thinking maybe 1 to 3 would be my range, and
Understood.
if I needed, 1.5.
Yeah.
That fair?
I mean,
All
I just talked about Jerry Jeudy. It has to be like very pinpoint caveats here.
Well,
we talking about
Well,
Jeudy.
you can't do like
just
0.8.
whatever, like because you are petite. I'm a big fat F, and so like it takes more to get me drunk than I would think.
Yeah, so
yes,
I wouldn't want that.
I'm scaling.
Yeah.
You know,
In Australia, we have
dear.
pots and pints. And a pot is like, I think it's like half the size of a pint. Here, everything's just a pint. Like you order a beer, it's a massive beer every single
of
time.
course.
In Australia, it's a bit more kind of egalitarian. It's equal opportunity offense in the pot. So you could have
Australia, you have
2
choices
pints
here.
and a pot.
Who
Yeah,
knew?
fair
A pot
enough.
sounds bigger than a pint. I'll be honest.
Yeah,
It does.
that's true.
I would order incorrectly.
Yeah.
All right, moving our attention to Tennessee Titans at the Buffalo Bills. Amari Cooper not getting a ton of love thus far.
I'd say 3 beers here. Now, listen, there's some positives, right? L'Jarius Sneed is out, and there's, the Titans are banged up. Lawrence, you talked about the fact they're probably going to want to try to get him involved. Josh Allen immediately like, hey, welcome to the team. Thank you. Somebody who can catch and run a route. I'm excited about that. Having said that, Titans have been pretty good defensively, right? They've allowed only 2 touchdowns to wide receivers this entire season, right? That's tied for second fewest in the NFL. Only 2 wide receivers have scored 11 or more fantasy points against the Titans, and they allow the fewest yards per game to opposing tight ends. They've had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. Having said that, they didn't know Amari Cooper was coming here. You do have a lot of weapons in Buffalo. Josh Allen, so good off script plays, and you could see Amari Cooper like just getting deep for one. So I want 3 beers. I want to feel buzzed. I want to feel like, whatever. Amari Cooper, sure, let's go. But it's very risk reward here. I mean, like, I will say this about Amari Cooper, and then I'll shut up. But I just, no result would surprise me. He could go 2 for 12, and that wouldn't shock me. He could have no catches, that wouldn't surprise me. He could go 7 for 112 and a touchdown, and that wouldn't surprise me. Like, just an insane wide range of outcomes for Amari Cooper in his first game with the Bills and Josh Allen.
All right, 3 beers. Jay, what do we do with Calvin Ridley? How many?
4 beers.
It's our first 4 beer.
Yeah, very sad. Calvin Ridley's situation. I mean, I think it's good that Mason Rudolph is in at quarterback now. Just not necessarily that Mason Rudolph is better than Will Levis, just because he's different than Will Levis, and it clearly wasn't working for Calvin Ridley with Will Levis. He's getting a lot of targets, just not bringing any of them in, and that wasn't entirely his fault. It's still Calvin Ridley. You still have to regress to the talent a little bit. I think they're going to be throwing a fair bit.
Squeaky wheel narrative as well.
It's going to get better, I think, but you need to see it a little bit more before we can start him with confidence.
Okay, our first 4. DeAndre Hopkins. Final thoughts on the Titans-Bills.
So I'm going to say 3 beers for Hopkins just because he's been generally more consistent than really. Not by much, though. The QB change, I think, does help them, especially from a passing standpoint. It'll be like less kind of like YOLO quarterbacking and more so like, get your guy the ball here and there, whatever. The last time Mason Rudolph played, DeAndre Hopkins got going a little bit. So 3 beers for me.
All right, that's Titans-Bills. Last one of beer goggles. Texans, Packers, Tank Dell.
Yeah, just 1 beer. Like 29% target share in his first game without Nico Collins last week. 2 end zone targets in week 6. Previous to that, he'd only had 1. They clearly want to get Tank Dell going, and against Green Bay, they're going to have to be throwing. So just 1 beer for him. He's my wide receiver 21.
All right, Romeo Doubs.
4 beers, Romeo Doubs. Just can't trust him at the moment in this Packers offense. Dontavian Wicks playing hurts him even more.
Christian Watson?
I said 3, but I should move it to 4 when we knew Wicks was coming back in the game. Almost 55% of his yards this season for Watson has come on 2 plays. And now you got 4 wide receivers in there. So I'm going to say 3 because that was my, pre-show answer. But probably should be 4.
I feel like between the 2 of you, you're not going to be feeling so great after this if you played all these. All right, that was beer goggles.
Google the Adam Sandler movies. There's some ones in here you're like, oh, that's my boy. Like, you're just sort of like, oh, man. There's like, it's...
You wouldn't use it in a pickup line or take a date, right? All right, time to get into pickup lines brought to you by DraftKings. Picked by Barry. Jay doing very well.
Yeah, Jay goes home with me a lot, Brittany, but I want you to help me judge because I don't often get picked up on. I'm assuming you get hit on a lot. You've seen a lot. You've had a lot of pickup lines in your life, so you help me out here. It's really the only time I ever get hit on is here on the show where contractually they're obligated to do it.
Got it. Did you create this segment?
I think you did. I think you did.
To be fair, a lot of men come up to Matthew Barry at bars.
This is true.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
That's
maybe more than almost anyone else in America.
I saw it at the
specific
Kentucky Derby.
niche.
He did have a lot of people around him at a Kentucky Derby.
I will tell you that is true. I have more than once been out with a female friend, and they're shocked at how many guys come up to me versus them.
Yes.
Where they're very upset about that.
Right, man.
We're very upset about that. Yes. If we had time, I would tell a very random story. But all right. Anyway, about that very situation. But we can move on.
Ready for this, Lawrence?
Okay.
Let's start with you.
Shall I start? All right.
Yeah. Bring it on.
Listen. So Nick Chubb comes back today, right? Mm-hmm. What does the city of Cleveland have right now, football-wise? They ain't got no quarterback. They ain't got no receiver no more. Defense shaky, but they got Nick Chubb. Just came out with the big article. He's back, baby. Look, no Jerome Ford playing today.
Yeah.
I think he could get 50 rushing yards, Matthew. 50 rushing yards. That could happen on one run. It could happen, however which way. Cincinnati, 12th most fantasy points against the running back position, and they allow over 100 rushing yards per game to the running back position. Cincinnati, the 6th worst rushing defense in the NFL. He going to have to get it early because it could get ugly. But it's Nick Chubb. They ain't going to put him out there if he ain't ready. 50 yards at plus 175 because you know how I do.
I do. All right, that's strong.
That's persuasive.
Yeah.
All right, Matthew, going to go back to the well on an old friend of yours, the sun god, Amon-Ra St. Brown, over 74.5 receiving yards, and here is why. When he played the Vikings last year, and they were games towards the end of the season, which I think are relevant for the matchup today, he had 250 receiving yards, 24 targets, 19 receptions, and he did that spread out across the two games. He had a 144 and 106. Amon-Ra St. Brown earlier in the season, he was being set 15 yards higher than this, and the reason why he's set lower now, I think the Lions have just played in these weird games. Like, they were beating the Cowboys by 1,000,000 points. They didn't really need to throw to Amon-Ra. The Seahawks, they're just running it down their throat, and they didn't need to throw in that game a lot either. I think Amon-Ra is still the same guy that he was last season. I think he is incredibly high floor. I think he gets to 75 receiving yards today.
What are the odds on that, though?
Well, it's minus 110.
Minus 110. Boy. I like both bets. I will make both bets, but I'm going home with Lawrence. Yeah, let's
Okay.
go. Nick
Yeah.
Chubb at plus 175.
That's fine.
You
Get
were,
Chubby.
It's gonna be a great story turned into real life today.
yeah,
I like it.
you know what?
Let's
I'm
That's
just
why I was sold. It's a great story. Can
It's
you
a-
imagine for the people of Cleveland?
easy to root for Nick
The
Chubb. I mean,
city-
listen, I love Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's my former ride or die. Obviously, I'm always going to root for him. And I have him in a number of leagues. But Nick Chubb is just it's an easy one to root for. So I'm going to go for that. I'm with you, by the way. Bengals 24th against the run over the last 4 weeks as well. They have so many. Could this be a big Laporta game? I get it, but and Jameson Williams, and I'm nervous about that. Vikings defense better than they were last year too, by the way,
that's fair.
significantly. So I'll make both bets, but I'm going home with Lawrence.
The
But as
city
always,
of Cleveland needs Nick Chubb.
but
50
as
rushing
always,
yards.
Jay, keep your phone on
Always
because
do.
at
Never
midnight
goes
I
off.
might
Never
be.
ring?
It literally
I was just
never
gonna say.
No,
turns off.
because after I leave Lawrence's, I may be like you up and I come by,
Yeah.
Jay's house
But
late
never,
at night.
never. It
them
just
scraps.
leaves you waiting and hanging.
just
well,
like-
speaking of giving some love, despite not going home with Matthew there, looking primed and ready to me. What do you guys think? Yeah?
Amon-Ra
Yeah,
St.
he looks
Brown.
ready.
The sun
He looks
god.
ready to do like
Ready for
73 and a half.
75.
73 and a half receiving yards. That's what he looks like he's going to do.
Parlay when we come back. All that funny. Waterboy, the conversations continue. So what does Chris Lee say here? Big showski, visualize and attack. Hashtag
right.
FF pregame. We like it. Again, not
By
my
the way,
favorite, but okay, I can
That's our
respect
show
it.
researcher. That's Chris Lee's. That's our big show. Everyone calls him big.
Oh, yeah.
Big show. That's our show researcher.
Where'd he go?
By the way, and so well done.
I see
A lot
him.
of people think like, oh, is he researching fantasy football stuff for you guys during the show? Absolutely not. It's only Adam Sandler movies. But by the way, it is Big Show's birthday today. birthday.
Happy birthday.
Big Show.
We love you, Big Show.
I feel like Big Show should make a show up here.
Yeah, absolutely. You can come on up and we'll celebrate birthday. Do a shot with us. 100%. Oh, here he comes. Come here and do bar trivia with us.
Come on, Big Show.
Here he comes.
I'll refrain from singing happy birthday because my voice is that bad.
Thank you.
Woo!
Here we go, Big Show.
Happy birthday.
All right.
You're welcome aboard.
So Big Show doesn't have a mic, unfortunately, and we don't have him lit. But because we didn't plan this, obviously. Best Sandler movie is You Don't Mess with the Zohan. Flex Downs are worthy. By the way, that's not the best. You Don't Mess with Zohan is fun, but that's not the best Sandler movie. It's not even close. It's better than Big Daddy.
Big Show, what's your favorite?
Oh, Happy Gilmore.
Happy Gilmore.
Big Show
Okay.
fan.
I think that
Fair.
is the correct answer.
What?
Happy Gilmore is
Always.
the correct answer.
Probably. Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think so as well. I will tell you, my kids love Grown Ups. My kids absolutely love Grown Ups. They've watched that movie a million times. Josh Downs or Xavier Worthy here. I'm going to say Josh Downs for me. Like, I'm hoping that over the break that they allowed Xavier Worthy and gave him more routes and they have more of a package for him off the bye. But until we see it, we've just seen so much production from Josh Downs for me. That's where I'm going to go.
Downs for me too.
Okay.
here
Always
we
Be
go.
Great with Vidal Sr. Okay.
Little Nicky, absolute worst Adam Sandler movie,
Correct.
no doubt about it. I would agree with that as
Yep.
well. Need some help in his 12-team PPR league. Who should I choose? All right, in wide receiver 3, Ayuk Downs or Ladd McConkey?
It's insane that Little Nicky was ever made. Who thought that was a good idea? It's unbelievably bad.
I
You're
get
gonna
it.
find somebody out there
I
that
get the
likes it.
question. We've talked up McConkey in the. It's a nice match with Arizona. I know it's a tough matchup with Kansas City. I know he hasn't been great, but I just can't bench Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah,
I think you got
Stay with it.
I think you got to go with Brandon Ayuk here as well. So no Juwan Jennings. He's not expected to play, so it should be. We talked about Ricky Pearsall, but it should be much more just sort of Debo and Ayuk
And Kittle.
And Kittle, obviously. Chiefs actually bat against tight ends. I think Kittle has a nice game here, but it's Ayuk.
Big Show, what matchup do you like today? There's so many.
Yeah, I'm a James Cook guy. Just what Cameron's question.
Oh, it's going
All
off
right.
of Cameron's
Oh,
question.
hey,
Okay.
hey, that's okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
James Cook.
He's my ride or die.
Yeah,
Perfect
he's
timing
been on,
with
he's
the
been on
question,
Big
too.
Show's. He's on Big Show's team in the League of Assholes. So he wants. I'm going to say James Cook and Terry McScoren. Cameron, yes, this is pick 2. So I'm going to go with a Big Show here and Cook. He should get a full workload here in a good. Not a great match with Tennessee, but again, they're banged up defensively. He's back fully. They use him and then McScoren has just been unbelievable.
Got him nodding away.
Yep, nodding away. All right, there you go.
Like it.
All right.
Uno mas. Pick 2, Cooper, Addison, Worthy, or Reed. Love the show. Thanks, folks. Waterboy all
Thank
the way.
you, Greg. There you go. Appreciate you. Absolutely. Pick 2.
Not a bad movie, just not my favorite.
What about Longest Yard, another football movie? there?
The original.
The original.
Well, the original's the original, but
The original is vastly superior.
Yes.
Yeah.
But his remake wasn't terrible. His
it
remake
was
wasn't
fun.
terrible at all. First off, let's start with the obvious one. It's Jaden Reed.
Yes,
to
sir.
me, that's the obvious one here.
I don't think it's Addison. Unless you're really confident. Unless you need the
Amari
upside
Cooper.
of Cooper.
Yeah,
I feel better about Addison's floor relative to the other
I think
two.
that's fair. I think Cooper's the high risk, high reward play, and Addison's the floor play. Definitely doing Jaden Reed.
Yep.
So I appreciate that. Big Show, I know you have to. People don't realize this, but among the many duties that Big Show does here is he keeps track of our bar trivia, which
that's
I
coming shortly.
desperately need to make a comeback in.
Yes.
So
Was I not? I know I was. Not going to say it. Somebody at this table called up. Well, it's you.
I-
You called up
the accuracy.
Can't beat me.
you're damn right you did. I was just like, just find me 6 votes in Georgia. That's all I asked for. I needed 6 points.
We're transparent this
I was
week.
transparent. I asked for transparency, which we
Unbelievable.
I gave
appreciate
it to
as
you.
well. So, so anyway,
gotta go back.
yes, you
Okay.
can go back.
Happy
But
birthday.
anyway,
Happy
happy
birthday,
birthday,
Big Show.
everyone. Happy birthday to Big Show.
Okay,
NBC
prior to bar
Sports
trivia,
legend.
though, we got to go with our fantasy football pregame anytime touchdown parlay. Of course, DraftKings, the #1 place to bet on touchdowns. Jay, why don't you start us off?
Going with Breece Hall, I think that it was a material shift in terms of the backfield breakdown On the Jets, with Todd Downing being the new offensive coordinator, he got a heavy workload compared to Braylon Allen last week, and I think he gets in the end zone on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to go with Amon-Ra St. Brown, just like I spoke earlier. 3 straight games with a touchdown, and even if they're winning, they'll still try to get Amon-Ra St. Brown a touchdown. The yard is not there, but the touchdowns are plus 100. I like it.
It's Saquon Barkley playing his former team. It's Saquon Barkley playing the Giants.
We're just going to keep repeating things now that I've started that trend with the Tyreek
there you
Hill
go.
57
Why
and a
don't
half.
you
That happen.
You tell me they didn't watch Hard Knocks? They didn't see that? Saquon Barkley gets into the end zone today against his former team, the New York Football Giants.
I'm going to round it out, I hope, fingers crossed, because that pays nicely. Kareem Hunt for me. In just 2 games, he's seen 63% of the snaps, 28 touches, 117 total yards, and a touchdown. I'm hoping that continues again. But I still pick the Niners over the Chiefs, despite that parlay.
That's fine.
All
There
right,
you go.
get involved. DraftKings. All right, now it is time. Last call, bar trivia. What happened, Mr.
I know.
Berry?
I'm the defending champion. I think I'm the 2-time defending champion, actually. But
I don't think that is very verified at all.
I'll tell you what
claim
happened.
that.
I'll
Who
tell
won in
you
year
what
one?
happened,
Give
Brittany.
me the history.
I was back like 8 points or 8 games,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it. I told these guys, I said, look, I'm just chilling right now to let y'all have y'all little time. The past 2 weeks, I've been just dominating. That's what happened. So me and Jay are tied, but it ain't really no tie. He
2-time
know
defending
that.
champion. It's like Brock Purdy claiming
Yeah.
he's a Super Bowl champion. He didn't win. He lost to the Chiefs.
I absolutely won last year.
Yeah, not the
Absolutely.
year before.
last
The
year.
year before I won.
We didn't do it the year before, I don't
Oh,
think.
well, I probably would have won.
Well, then you're all
I would have
winners.
won.
All right.
Let me put it this way: no one at this table has ever won this except for me. How about that? That's another way to spin it. That's
Look, that's not a lie.
That's not a lie. Anyway, yeah, whatever.
Right.
There's some early season success for Lawrence. He's like the Saints. He'll fade. Let's.
No,
it
but I
starts
was
now.
back 8. I was back 8,
that's
so
fine.
we with the mid-season comeback here.
Speed and fade, quick
So,
out of the
right.
gate. Okay.
So we'll go
Big
this
Show's-
way, go Big
Big
Three.
Show's ready.
Yes.
More passing yards, Kirk Cousins or Geno Smith?
Geno.
Gino.
Kirk Cousins.
More rushing yards, James Cook or Tony Pollard?
Pollard.
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 Okay. More receptions, Jamar Chase or T. Higgins?
Chase.
Chase.
T. Higgins.
Fantasy points, more Jordan Love or C.J. Stroud?
Love.
Love.
Jordan Love.
More receiving yards, Tyreek Hill or Michael Pittman?
Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek.
Across the board. More receptions, Justin Jefferson or Amon-Ra St. Brown?
Sun God.
Justin Jefferson.
I'm gonna say Justin Jefferson.
Divided. More fantasy points, A.J. Brown or Malik Neighbors?
Malik Neighbors.
A.J. Brown.
Oh, this is a
Waiting
tough
on
one.
you.
AJ Brown.
Okay.
All right. So you've
More,
taken AJ Brown.
more
noted.
total yards, Kyron Williams or Brock Bowers?
Kyron,
Kyron, right?
Kyron.
Like, not
Kyron
even a
Williams.
question. More receiving yards, Terry McLaurin or Deontay Johnson?
Deontay.
Deontay.
I'll go with Terry McLaurin. I'm down.
Okay. More
Gotta
passing
switch this
yards.
up.
That's what I mean. Patrick Mahomes or Brock Purdy? If I was playing, I'd say Brock.
Mahomes.
Brock Purdy.
Brock Purdy.
Yes.
More
go.
fantasy points, Garrett Wilson or Devontae Adams?
I'll go Devontae Adams.
Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson.
That's an easy one. Lawrence and Croucher chalk up one on Matthew.
More receptions, Zay Flowers or Chris Godwin?
Zay.
Chris Godwin.
Chris Godwin.
And last but not least, more rushing yards, J.K. Dobbins or James Conner?
Dobby.
Dobbins.
Dubby.
We need more
for me.
separation on these, or else nobody's going to
know,
move
that's the
forward or
problem.
backward.
All right.
All right, that's
Problem.
when your bar
I gained a
trivia.
couple points here. That's all right.
Uh,
That's fine. It's tomorrow's trivia today. Yeah.
I like it.
There you go.
This has been a lot of fun. I think we got 60 seconds left. Final
Okay.
thoughts, gentlemen, on this weekend.
We should have gotten your fiance's team here. You told me he's in last place.
Yeah, he's in last place. I think he lost by 50 points last week. He's projected to only have about
lot of
80
points.
points this
What-
week. It's
what's
been
his
very
name?
bad. Patrick, he might be watching.
Patrick.
Sorry.
So no, I just wanted to bring that up, Patrick. Here's the love of your life, the woman you're going to marry, and she just threw you under the bus. You're in last place on national
Yeah.
television.
She even added the
And-
fact that you just lost by 50, and
I mean, it's just
nobody
awful.
loses by 50 points in
But you know
fantasy.
what's great?
You guys,
It's
he has
like
Kirk
if you
Cousins.
guys,
He
if
has
you
Kirk
guys, yeah, it's
Cousins,
fine.
you know?
If you guys can survive this, your marriage will be a big success.
Yes,
I believe
indeed.
that
There you
as
go.
well. So it's a nice test. we'll see if Patrick's still there when you get
And he
home.
got some free fantasy football advice to help out the team.
Here's hoping. Nowhere to go but up for Patrick here.
Oh, he's just going to love this.
What's your best bet for tonight, Jay?
For
Sunday Night Football.
For tonight, I think the Jets cover. I think the Jets win, get their season back on track, get to 3-4 on Sunday Night Football.
I do as well. Hey, that sound means it's closing time. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. So for Lawrence, for Jay, for Brittany, happy birthday, Big Show.
Yes,
Go get
indeed.
yourself a win. I'm merely Matthew Berry. We'll see you on Monday for happy hour. Peace out.